Pirate's Most Powerful Villain, Chapter 701-720. Chapter 0701 _ The Strongest Black Mage Ever. In the third round of the individual competition, the Elemental Chaos is essentially an online game to fight monsters. The contestants fight against each other, and the harder they fight, the faster the Eclipse Gate fills up. In order to let these people fight hard, the Lord of Elements specially added a hidden setting. The mage who kills the elemental life with the last hit will get feedback. The killed elemental life will be transformed into a pure elemental power and integrated into the magician's body. As far as guides are concerned, it is an irresistible temptation. Therefore, after tasting the sweetness, things like grabbing monsters are bound to happen. At the guest seat, the Lord of Elements closed his eyes and paid attention to the Eclipse Gate at the bottom of the venue. In just 20 minutes, the stored magic power of the Eclipse Gate has reached 3/5. It seems that the prediction is correct. The third round is over, and the door to the solar eclipse can almost be opened. He secretly said in his heart, those people in the original book took 7 years and 7 big devil fights to complete their magic power. Now, I only need 2 days. 30 players at the level of Saint 10 among the 10 magic guides in the element world. Even the weakest one has the level of an ordinary S-rank mage. Suddenly, the Lord of Elements opened his eyes, and there was a light hum from his nose. Lord, what's wrong? Mira asked curiously. Hyperion next to him also cast his gaze. The Lord of Elements was silent for a moment, then suddenly smiled. It's nothing, a little mouse broke into the element world. Little mouse. He. Restless little mouse. With a low laugh, the Lord of Elements closed his eyes again. At the same time, the element world, the south, the mountain of flames. As the name suggests, this is a real flaming mountain. The mountain itself is burning, the earth is extremely hot, and the temperature is as high as Baidu. A normal person will suffocate and die in a few seconds just by standing here. At this moment, at the top of the mountain, the 3 burning people perished one after another. They are LV-13 elemental beings, shrouded in flames, invisible and intangible, and cannot be dealt with by normal attacks. But the Magic King's palm directly killed them. 100th in the second round, the penultimate one, whose real name is Ogarst. He slapped the 3 firemen out with one palm, then turned around, lowered his head and said, "What a rude thing to let such a small thing disturb your majesty. Never mind, and besides, this place is fun." The boy's expression was melancholy, and his whole body exuded a gloomy aura. What is that world, Lord? It is obvious that someone who can create this kind of world is on the same level as me. This a guest who suddenly appeared in the great demon fighting martial arts, and it is suspected to be an abyss. The Sorcerer King added, "We will come to participate in this big magic fight because of Irene. She brought information about abyss magic." Then, he explained the general process again. "Is that so?" Jeff understood. "I didn't expect that in this world. There are other people who have stepped into the abyss of the Devil's Way, and their path is completely different from mine. It seems that it is a fusion of earth, water, fire, wind, and create an elemental world different from the material world, and achieve the abyss." Saying that, he reached out and grabbed it. I saw the perished 3-headed elemental life. Its vanished body turned into a ray of fiery red light, and was caught by Jeff in his hand. This is the magic power of the abyss. It should be left by the World Master on purpose. Those who kill the elemental life can obtain this magic power of the abyss. If they absorb enough, it is really possible for people to touch the abyss. Jeff was very interested in the evaluation. He analyzed the essence of this magic power, and then shot it into the body of the Magic King. This kind of benefit is deliberately set up, and the World Master wants you to provoke a fight for this magic power. The Magic King absorbed a bit of abyss magic power, and then said, "I also discovered this. From the first round, they have been doing this deliberately. The purpose seems to be to absorb magic power. Not only me, many people have this kind of feeling. It's just that no one cares for the time being, and the other party has no intention to hide, otherwise they can do better. This person may be able to kill me. Jeff murmured in his heart that one of his long-cherished wishes, who had gained a long life, was that someone could end him. Suddenly, at the foot of the mountain not far away, a group of people are coming towards this side. That's the gate of Hades. The Magic King injected magic into the atmosphere, and the entire flaming mountain was under his perception. As soon as Hades and others appeared, he discovered each other. It is the devil created by His Majesty. They're just failures. Jeff walked over. I'm going to collect the end book, and then, go to the World Master. Natsu, we will meet soon. Hearing this, the Magic King remained silent and followed. On the other side, above the element world, in a more hidden space, there is a suspended island. On the island, birds and flowers are fragrant, layer by layer, like terraced fields. A holy spring flows in the fields, and water elves wander and play in the spring water. And higher up, there is the roar of the beast of the wind, and the roar of the fireman. Every dead elemental life is reborn here. In the center of the island, there is a pavilion-like building. In the pavilion, there is a stone table, and beside the stone table, there are 4 people, 3 men and 1 woman. No, it's not right to call them human, they are elemental beings, lords of the 4 elements, abyss-level man-made objects. There is an abyss-level wizard who has appeared. Do you want to report to the Lord of the World? The Lord of the Wind said nervously. What kind of existence does the Lord of the World still need us to report? The Fire Elemental Lord snorted. This group of people really don't know whether to live or die. They even brought in a non-competitor without permission. Don't be impulsive. That's the Abyss, I know that person, it should be Jerf, the strongest black mage in history. The Lord of Water comforted a few people, saying, compared to this, those demons are very annoying. We go kill those people, this is also the order of the World Master. Oh, don't be so angry. The Earth Element Lord is a woman, with a delicate appearance and a smile on the corner of his mouth, and said, that Jerf, isn't he going to challenge the Lord of the World? There will be an abyss battle soon. Let's wait and see quietly and wait for the Lord of the World. Show your prowess. Hearing this, several lords looked at each other and immediately agreed with the decision. The Abyss War, that is a century, no, a rare event in 1,000 years. Chapter-701-720 Battle. The Element World, the Mountain of Flames. At the foot of the mountain, Nandapo looked out of breath at the enemy ahead. It was a pure fire elemental with a grade of 7 inscribed on the top of its head. He was deadlocked with the other party for half an hour, unable to do anything to the other party. Is it the limit? Suddenly, a special wave came from the body of this fire element, and the wave turned into a sound, which sounded directly in Nandibo's mind. What? Nandibo looked shocked. You can speak. We are born proficient in language. Compared with your magicians, you need to practice magic. Our elemental beings are born with an unparalleled affinity for elements. We are magic itself. Nandibo looked stern, and smiled bitterly in his heart. As soon as he entered the element world, he encountered this thing, and then was entangled by the other party. Up to now, the points are all 0. Moreover, he is also a magician of fire, and the opponent is immune to fire magic, so he has to fight with some magic that he is not good at. Just thinking about it, the fire element said again, the Lord's order is to stop all the contestants and push the opponent into a desperate situation. When necessary, you can kill people. Kill. Is this still an order from that mysterious guest? Nandapo had a bad feeling. I advise you to run, you have reached the limit, and you don't have the strength to continue fighting with me. The fire element's tone did not fluctuate. If you don't leave, follow the orders of the World Master, I can only kill and oppress you. The potential of you can squeeze the last drop of your magic power. What? Nandapo stared blankly at each other. At this moment, at the end of the sky, in the floating island, the Flame Lord in the pavilion suddenly frowned. Looking for death. He snorted coldly and immediately raised his hand. The flame elements of the element world converged, and a long chain was condensed over the island, and then suddenly shot out. At the same time, Nandibo seemed to sense something and looked up at the sky. I saw that above the god, a red light flickered and came quickly towards this side. God's punishment. Fire elemental was stunned. I said something that shouldn't have been said, which angered the Lord. It was the Lord's flame gun. It's for you. Nandibo's heart was stunned, and he hurriedly shouted, "Run!" The fire element did not respond to his words. It's useless. In the element world, no matter where you hide, you can't escape the killing of the flame gun. Before the real death, human beings are telling you a message. In the element world, the element life of LV15 has 4, 12 of LV14, 21 of 1. All elemental creatures are indestructible, and they can be weight limited in the fountain of elements. Pei Sheng could not be conveyed, and the flame gun above the sky had crashed down. Whoosh. 0_. Thin. The red light flashed, and the flame gun pierced through the body of the fire element. This blow didn't have a terrible impact, and Nandibo didn't even feel the manic magic surge. That is like a law, and it is the basis for the operation of the element world. The fire element was assassinated by the flame gun, and the power of the elements in the body was quickly annihilated. Its body seemed to be torn apart by something, and finally assimilated by the flame gun. It disappeared completely, leaving no trace. Nandibo stared blankly at this scene, his mind blank. The attack of the fire attribute actually killed the fire element. Why? He was incomprehensible. Exit, exit. For fear that the owner of the flaming gun would stare at him, Nandibo roared without hesitation. The next moment, where he was, the space was distorted, like the big mouth of a monster, swallowing him in one bite. Flaming mountain, the foot of the mountain in the other direction. The Magic King took his eyes back from the sky. That attack just now, it's terrible. There is something else in the sky of this elemental world. Maybe that is the core of the elemental world. Jeff shook his head, turned his eyes, and looked at the few people in front of him. I'm Jeff, Maldo, give me the end book in your hand. In front of it, the acting president of the Gate of Hades, Mardo, stared blankly at Jeff. He never imagined that in such a place, he would see the god who created them, the Black Magician's elf. As a demon created by Jeff, Pluto can confirm the moment he sees the other party that it is indeed the creator. The great Sir Jeff. Hades knelt down on one knee without hesitation, and respectfully handed over a black hard-shell book. We Ateliers have been looking for your traces for hundreds of years after losing contact with you. I, Mardo Gil Tartaros, are your most loyal servants. Thanks to the underworld, I finally let me found you. Hades spoke very humbly. Jeff was unmoved by this. He simply retracted his end book. You are useless. You, who are failures, can't kill me. Between the words, Jeff slowly stretched out his hand and pressed his palm on the space in front of him. The next moment, a trace of darkness, like a tentacle, quickly penetrated into the space, and then with a bang, the space shattered. The barrier between the elemental world and the material world is easily broken. Jeff took one step forward and appeared on the duel stage. Immediately afterwards, his voice passed back before the broken barrier was repaired. Ogast, the gate of the underworld, leave it to you to handle it. Yes, Your Majesty. Hearing the other party's reply, Jeff then glanced at the book of END in his hand. As if seeing a relative, he showed a melancholy smile. Who? The host asked in a daze. At this moment, in the corner of the auditorium, Mebus suddenly stood up and looked at the duel stage with a shocked expression. You. She opened her mouth. Mebus, long time no see, 100 years. Jeff glanced at her and ignored her. I am not looking for you today. Who is the world master? The whole place was quiet. I don't know which 0.4 scene this is played. At the guest seat, the Lord of Elements stood up slowly, and the eyes under the mask looked down indifferently. Little Mouse, Ken came out. Your elemental world is interesting. I want to try, can you kill me? Jeff's tone was calm, and the moment he finished speaking, he suddenly started. He didn't move, and a dark light shone around him. The dueling platform vibrated constantly, and the earth was corroded and weathered rapidly. The next moment, the dark magic power around him turned into a shock and suddenly hit the guest seat. Why, Jeff, you think you're my opponent? The Lord of Elements said lightly, and with a flick of his finger, a magic light bullet suddenly shot out. The next moment, the two forces collided in the air. Boom! A terrifying magic power instantly swept the entire venue. Chapter-703_give you death. Boom! Two abyss magic power collided in the sky above the competition venue, and immediately set off a huge force like a typhoon of level 12. In an instant, in the venue that was enough to accommodate 100,000 people, the people in the auditorium were blown away one by one. What terrifying magic! This guy is Jerf. Rich dark magic power. You can't go wrong, even the World Lord shouted Jerf. It turned out to be the legendary Black Mage, isn't he dead? Countless people murmured in shock, casting magic one by one to resist the aftermath of this collision. However, compared to ordinary wizards, the abyss-level power is like a god, and even the aftermath cannot be resisted by ordinary people. Almost 99% of the people were directly swept away by the aftermath, and the entire venue for the great demon fighting and martial arts performances collapsed in half. It really is an abyss. The measure of magic power may be higher than me. In the aftermath of the raging, Jeff still stood on the duel stage. Duel stage remained in good condition, and all the rest were destroyed by the aftermath. You don't have to be so humble, the amount of magic power is definitely more profound for you. The Lord of Elements said calmly. However, since you begged for death and destroyed the competition venue I was waiting for, then I might as well give you a death. I'm so sorry for messing up your playing field, I'll restore it. Jeff Isho raised his right hand high, and suddenly, a silver magic circle opened, Arc of Time. Ka ka ka. The shattered playing field was quickly restored under the magic of Jeff. It was as if the world was going backwards. No matter how broken the venue was, it would be restored. This scene is like pressing the back button while watching a movie. In just a short while, everything is back to normal, as if the magic collision just now was fake. The people who were still alive were stunned. Hey, such a terrifying magic power, such a big place will be restored within a few seconds. The Arc of Time, I remember it as the lost magic. The former member of the council, Urusha, will also use this magic. I didn't expect that Jeff also has the Arc of Time. This is not a place to stay for a long time. Hurry up and go as far as possible. When these two terrifying people fight, the whole country will be shattered. The audience who survived the catastrophe began to flee in all directions. Even Hyperion had already retreated from the guest seat, for fear that the battle would affect him. Although he is a Holy 10, and he is honored to be ranked first, but if he gets involved in a battle of this level, he is afraid that he will not even know how to die in an instant. Hyperion had self-awareness, so he withdrew extremely quickly. Mira stared blankly at this scene, not knowing what to do. Just then, a black crow flew above her head. Mr. Itachi, what's going on? The game has to be called off. It doesn't matter, the game continues. Black Crow spit out, Jeff's appearance is both unexpected and expected. His magic power, filling the Eclipse Gate, is faster. During the conversation between the two, they were closely watching the battle. Jeff looked at the Lord of Elements and said, "The World Lord, I don't want innocent people to die, let's change to a more open place." As he said that, he held the Book of End in one hand and wiped the space in front of him with the other. Immediately, the magic of darkness rose from under his feet like a curtain, engulfing him at once, and then disappeared. "Leave," Makarov said subconsciously, "the first generation EH." He looked sideways, but he couldn't see Mebus. I don't know when, this little loli had already left. The game continues. Mira, prepare to contact the president. the magic power will be collected soon. Leaving a sentence, the figure of the Lord of Elements moved, and the magic power flowed around and flew away. Outside the capital, on the bank of a river, the black shadow flashed and gradually faded away like a flame, and then, Jeff's figure slowly appeared. He walked to the river, bent down and stretched out his hand to pick up the water. After taking a sip, he said, "You're here too, Mebus. What's your purpose?" Behind her, Mebus had appeared at an unknown time, and her expression was extremely solemn. "I've waited so long and finally there is someone who is expected to kill me, maybe Natsu is not needed." Jeff shook off the water stains on his hands and turned to look at Mebus. "I haven't seen you for more than 100 years. I didn't expect you to be resurrected. I'm very happy. It's just that your state makes me wonder, who is it? The curse on you." The curse of God Anxalam. Jeff was hit, and Mebus was also hit. But now, Mebus is not only resurrected, but even the curse has disappeared, which makes Jeff feel incredible. Even he has no way to curse, and Mebus can't suppress it with his own power. The only possibility is that there is an existence he doesn't know that helps Mebus to suppress the curse. Yes. It's the Vice President. Suddenly, a voice came from the sky. The two raised their heads in unison, and saw that the Lord of Elements had already caught up. He stood in the air, under the silver mask, his eyes were calmly watching Jeff. What is the Vice President? Jeff wondered. He has been walking in no man's land, and he hardly knows what is happening in the outside world. He only came after the breath when he sensed the Book of End recently. They are dreams. Mebus' little face was full of seriousness. If you are the strongest black wizard in history, you are the big evil. Then, they are above the big evil, the most vicious and evil dark guild in history. Dream Guild. Jerf was stunned, as if he had heard of it before, and he heard Ogast mention it, but he didn't care. Thinking like this, he turned to look at the Lord of Elements. "Are you the fantasy president?" He. The Lord of Elements smiled suddenly. "I forgot to introduce myself. I am the World Lord, the Lord of the Elemental World, and the Lord of the Elements, the Elemental Life. As for our president, it is Emperor Chin. As for the resurrection of maybe the person from Sri Lanka as our vice chairman, Lord Lan 240 Ran." Hearing this, Jeff was a little stunned. The World Master is an abyss, there is no doubt about this, he just tried a blow, absolutely right. But the abyss-level elemental beings are not dreamy presidents or vice presidents. What is this dream? In other words, who are the president and vice president? What kind of power is in his hands, enough to make an abyss-level elemental life call, "Sir"? Before he could speak, Mebus took a step ahead and said, "How about Emperor Chin? I don't know, but that Aizen has reached the realm of God, and the god Anxalam who cursed you is the same existence." Hearing this, Jeff's pupil Vivi shrank. Above the abyss, at the end of the magic path, reaching the deeper depths of magic, the world is dubbed the title of God, God Anxalam. No one has ever seen it, but it, him, or she, is everywhere. Omnipresent. It's like the nature of the world, the rules of how the world works. However, such a God actually exists a second person, and he is still a living person. No, it's not just the second one. Such a God-level powerhouse turned out to be only the vice president. This is the problem. Jeff fell silent. But the Master of Elements was not interested in waiting for him to sort out his thoughts, so he snorted and said, "The nonsense is over, let me give you a death." Between the words, Vivi raised his hand and waved it down suddenly. Flame Gun. Chapter 0704 The Only Magic. Flame Gun. The Lord of Elements raised his hand and waved it down, and suddenly, above his head, the power of the huge elements gathered into a flaming spear. This spear seems to be the product of the law of flame. It does not carry high temperature, but once it is shot down, everything blocked in front of it will be annihilated under this blow. An attack that has appeared in the elemental world before. Jeff looked up and stared. He didn't choose to dodge, but opened his arms as if embracing death, embracing the flame gun. Whoosh! With a flash of red light, Jeff's chest was instantly pierced. This scene made Mebus look surprised. Is he begging for death? Mebus secretly said, if you think too much, there is no reason why you can't escape. Cough cough. Jeff vomited blood and his body froze for a few seconds before suddenly staggering back. What a powerful attack, it completely smashed my internal organs in an instant. The heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys have all been destroyed and burnt out. It can be said that the various main organs in the body of Jeff now have disappeared, and he is only under the body. It's me who should be surprised. The curse of this, Anxalam, is really powerful. A person with no internal organs can still speak. The Lord of Elements looked at each other calmly. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Jeff thumped and fell to the ground. The next moment, from his wound, black magic power quickly overflowed outwards, repairing all his wounds at a speed visible to the naked eye. This process is very fast, but within 10 seconds, the internal organs have been regenerated. The curse of contradiction makes me immortal. Jeff's eyelids trembled, and he slowly got up again. He patted the dust on his robe and said in a silent tone, rejected by the world, as long as there is a trace of respect for life, the curse will erupt and take away the approaching all living things emit the energy of death like a plague. I have lived through this kind of life for 400 years, and I am tired and tired. Quote. Speaking of which, he looked up at the Master of Elements, and said indifferently, I thought you could kill me, but you can't. You are also stepping into the abyss of the devil's way, and you can't resist the curse on me. He. The Lord of Elements laughed suddenly, do you really think I can't kill you? As long as the person who has been hit by this curse can live forever. Jeff, you are deceiving yourself. If the person who was hit by the curse can't die, then, why is Mebus dead? Hearing this, a coldness flashed in Jeff's eyes. The same curse, Mebus died. That's because, over 100 years ago, you fell in love with her. The Lord of Elements talked eloquently and sprinkled salt on Jeff's wound. Anxalam's curse, known as the curse of contradiction, is a power beyond the abyss. The easiest way to break this curse is to make the cursed beloved. It is often said that the only magic is the highest state of magic, and this magic is called love. Love can destroy even the power of gods. This is really a fairy tale world. I have reached the limit of the abyss. After creating the element world, I am only one step away from the realm of God, but I can't cross this step. Why? Because I don't understand love. I'm an elemental being, can't love and can't be loved, so I've been stuck here. Of course, this is to fool Jeff. The Lord of Elements is an elemental life, but its essence is still an illusion, one of Qin Yang's many controlled characters. Do not understand love, this is false, mainly, there is no favorite woman, so no one can love. As for being loved, that's even more impossible. Too much power will gain worship, loyalty, and admiration, but not love. Therefore, the Lord of Elements is stuck here, and Qin Yang has not been able to find another way for the time being. Of course, Qin Yang is not in a hurry. He is proficient in the only magic, the so-called love, which is just the way this world leads to the realm of the gods. It is not the only correct one. It seems that it is not because he knows this magic that he can reach the level of God. Vivi Isho, the Lord of Elements, looked playful. Then, here comes the question. You fell in love with Mebus, so Mebus died. 100 years ago, you who were supposed to be lovers, why you didn't die? You are not dead. This sentence immediately shook Jeff's heart. He knew this kind of thing before, but he just didn't want to agree with it, but at this moment, the Lord of Elements said it, so he couldn't avoid it. Love is the only magic. Mebus, why don't you kill me? Jeff looked at Mebus and said in a low voice. Mebus gritted his teeth, his body Vivi trembled. The answer is simple, you love her and she doesn't love you. The Lord of Elements curled his lips. No, to be precise, she just doesn't love you that much. Although I don't understand human love, I also know that in the process of intercourse between men and women, all contradictions, in the final analysis, can be used by one reason to explain. The reason is he, or she, doesn't love you that much. No. Mebus opened his mouth, wanting to refute something, but in the face of ironclad facts, he seemed unable to refute. No matter what she said, 100 years ago, in the face of the curse of contradiction, she died, and Jeff didn't. That was the truth. I know. Jeff shook his head. Even if I didn't know it at that moment, I would understand it afterwards. Why did you die but I didn't? This is the end of the chat. The Lord of Elements carried his hands on his back and looked down at the two people below. However, if you want to die, instead of asking me to give you a death, it's better to ask her to let her fall in love with you, and you can die naturally. Thinking about it now, the so-called contradictory curse is caused by people who violated the taboo of life while practicing magic. Life and love are an eternal topic. Death. Jeff looked as usual, but after a while, he suddenly smiled. No, I suddenly don't want to die. I'm going to transcend this curse, end this era, open a temporary new world, and reincarnate into a new human being. This time, I won't make the same mistake again. There is only one meaning of these words, and that is to step into the realm of God. Suddenly, Jeff's figure moved and suddenly appeared in front of Mebus. The original fairy, for this goal, I need your body, I need your fairy heart. Suddenly, Jeff raised his hand and grabbed Mebus with one palm. Under this grasp, the dark magic raged, as if to block this space, locking Mebus firmly. In the face of this blow, Mebus has fallen into sluggishness. She was still immersed in the sadness of the past, and she did not react at all to Jeff's sudden attack. The fairy's heart is my target, otherwise, how could the vice president resurrect her? The Lord of Elements snorted coldly. Mebus was unprepared, but he had always been prepared. The moment Jeff made his move, he slammed his hand, pressing and pumping. Pump the power of the earth element. In an instant, the entire Fury Kingdom, above this vast area, was the magic power buried deep in the earth. Under this pump, it was extracted as soon as possible. The next moment, the earth shook, and the river set off huge waves. In a roar, from under the earth, elements like dragons flew out. Earth Dragon. Chapter-705-Emperor Chin comes. Earth Dragon. At this moment, the entire territory of Fury Kingdom, under this vast land, the magic particles that have been precipitated for thousands of years, were all extracted by the Lord of Elements. Mountains and rivers swayed, rivers rolled, as if the whole country was roaring in anger. Under Jeff's feet, the land that was a step away from Mebus was split inch by inch at this moment. It seemed to divide the whole world, and the abyss and ravine like a moat was blocked between the two. Only then did Mebus come back to God. You want a fairy's heart. She stared at Jeff with wide eyes. I won't give you this magic, even if I die, I won't give it to you. The moat is getting wider and wider, and it is like the movement of the plate. This kind of power of heaven and earth is difficult for manpower to compete with. In the blink of an eye, the two were already 100 meters apart. You're going to get in my way. Jerf frowned, looking up at the elemental lord. You want a fairy's heart too? Is it really good to follow me? Worry more about your feet, it's out. The Lord of Elements put his hands on his back and looked down calmly. As soon as his voice fell, the sound of the dragon's roar resounded, and the next moment, a giant dragon with a yellow color and one color rushed out from the underground abyss. That giant dragon has a body of 1,000 meters and is completely constructed of earth elements. It is an elemental life very close to the abyss. The dragon of the elements created by the territory of a country. Jeff can't help but look surprised. Although he can do similar things, it is the creation of demons, which is created from the source of magic. It is naturally different from pure elemental life. In terms of difficulty, he is inferior. Moreover, the created life, its strength, also has a certain gap. The strength of this dragon of a country in front of him is afraid that it is infinitely close to the abyss. Just accompany my pet and have a good time. The Lord of Elements looked calm. Of course, if you can't even solve it, there's nothing to say. Elemental Circle, Floating Sky Island, Gazebo. The four elemental lords looked at the stone table, which reflected the outside world. In the picture, an area of the continent of Ishgar, representing this piece of land in the Kingdom of Fury, has now cracked a visible abyss. That is to directly divide a country from the middle. The Lord of the World is worthy of being the Lord of the elemental world, it's too terrifying. The Fire Elemental Lord murmured in shock, it even split a country with one blow. The scary thing is that dragon, I'm afraid it's stronger than the four of us. That dragon is the Dragon of Fury. Within the borders of the country, it can possess endless magic power. Even if it is Jerf, it is impossible to solve it. Home field advantage. Tao. It is an elemental dragon condensed from the land of Fury, and can naturally control the magic power contained in the land of the whole country. Downright arrow. And GT. The Water Element Lord shook his head and said, I think, let's do something serious, otherwise, if the Lord of the World will blame him, everyone will feel uncomfortable. Yes, hurry up and solve those demons at the gate of Hades. They have contributed enough magic power, and it is useless. The Wind Element Lord nodded quickly, and got up after speaking, everyone, Jerf is not the opponent of the World Lord, so don't worry. Now the progress of the collection of magic power has almost reached 100%, the four of us will take action, let this progress, and then hurry up. Hearing this, the four of them set off immediately. With a thought, the four elemental lords left from the floating sky island and headed towards the elemental continent below. At the same time, the big magic fight was on the scene. Today, it's a mess here. The contestants are trapped in the elemental world, and no one can leave except Nandipo. And Nandibo, who escaped by chance, told the audience everything that Fire Element said before his death. All of a sudden, everyone knows that there is a mastermind behind this big demon fight. And their purpose is the magic power of all mages. Miss Mila, what the hell is going on? Could you please clarify? That's right, the ace of our guild was trapped in the elemental world by you, why didn't you let him out? You guys, what are you trying to do? In the audience, thousands of wizards who were still awake asked questions one after another. Some of these people are the president of the guild, some are masters who have not participated in the individual competition, or they are mages sent by other countries, all kinds of people, but at this moment, everyone is attacking together. Mira suddenly had a headache. Nandibo was the only wizard who came out of the elemental world. Even if his words were false, these people would believe them. Everyone be quiet, please don't worry, the game will proceed normally, and all the wizards who enter the element world will be fine. In desperation, Mira had to use a loudspeaker to explain to the audience. The reason why I can't leave now is because the World Master and Jeff are at war and cannot open the element world. It's not that we deliberately want to keep people in the element world. This is real. There is no need to keep people in the elemental world, and it is impossible to commit dreams. However, the chaotic audience, who would believe it? No one believes it. Bullshit. Miss Mira, we only participated in the great demon fight because we trusted you, but I didn't expect you to. He. Just then, a light laughter sounded. The next moment, in the guest seat, a handsome-looking man appeared at an unknown time. The man is dressed in a white robe and has a faint smile on his face, which makes people feel good when they see it. However, everyone's attention was on Wei Ji in front of the man. That's a dream. Dream. A wizard lost his voice. You are a dreamer. Good afternoon, everyone. Qin Yang, Vivi Isho, said, Mira, I am fortunate. Master, you are finally here. Mira suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Because of the battle between the World Lord and Jeff, more than 10,000 people died at the scene, and 80,000 people were attacked by magic and fell into a coma. What can I do? Although she joined the dream, she was still flustered by the incident. She never thought that it would affect innocent people. Don't worry, I will resurrect the dead and heal the wounded. Qin Yang was calm, as if no matter what happened, he couldn't make him frown. And hearing this conversation, thousands of people at the scene all gasped. Master, you are a dreamy president. Someone said in disbelief. Miss Mira, I didn't expect you to be a dreamy person. My name, the single word, Qin, you can call me, Qin Emperor. Qin Yang glanced over and looked around the audience. I came from outside the sky and came to this world to bring eternal peace to this world. I am waiting for a dream. I am the messenger of peace. Chapter-701-720 door, open. 1. The first update. I went to Shanghai. Do you have any friends in Shanghai? $. Close black lens bracket. I wait for the dream but the messenger of peace. Qin Yang's remarks suddenly made people surprised and slandered in his heart. Peace. Of course, those who resisted you all died, and naturally there was peace. What a joke. Someone said angrily. What did you guys do in the past, as the president of Dream, don't you know? What did we do? Qin Yang asked back. In the Iron Forest of the Dark Guild, I created an elemental life, but the council cast magic wizard power there, so that the area is still dead. Later, the council formed a light crusade. The coalition forces, we have to revert to the Balam alliance and form a dark council to fight against it. The result is very gratifying. The two of them are in prison now. Quote. Hearing this, the people present fell silent. It seems to be true, but it always feels like something is wrong. I am indeed coming with peace, but the original council deeply misunderstood me and called my dream, the worst and worst in history. Qin Yang, Vivi Isho, suddenly turned his eyes to the back of the guest seat. There, the current president of the Council of 10, Hyperion, is hiding. In comparison, the current speaker is obviously a reasonable person. You see, he has become a guest of this great demon fight, which fully illustrates this point. Hearing this, many people were a little shaken. Could it be that the information obtained before is false? No, Hyperion opened his mouth and said quickly, don't let him. Halfway through his words, his voice stopped abruptly. The man who claimed to be Emperor Qin just looked at him, and it made him feel terrified, as if he just said one more word, and the other party could kill him with one look. Hyperion shuddered, unable to utter a word. You see, he agrees with that too. At this moment, Makarov stood up suddenly, and said with a serious face, so it's you are Emperor Qin, I should have thought of it. Makarov, long time no see. Qin Yang greeted him calmly. When Makarov was defeated by Deathwing and transcribed by magic, it was Qin Yang who brought him back to Magnolia with his real body. At that time, the two met once. In that case, there can be no one who can save me except the dream itself. I should have known. Makarov's face was ugly, and he didn't know how to face this reality. The benefactor he thought was a dreamy president, this kind of thing put him in a dilemma for a while. He. Qin Yang chuckled twice, but ignored the other party, but flicked his fingers and shot a white light. Bai Guang threw himself into the dual platform, and then, the entire platform separated to both sides, and a thick and brilliant door flashed up slowly. This is... Hyperion's whole shrank. Could this be the legendary Eclipse Gate? The Gate of the Eclipse, the legacy left by the Dark Sorcerer's elf. As one of the greatest wizards in history, Jeff left a lot of legacy. Among them, the deterrent weapon, in the hands of the Council, which can instantly empty the magic of the entire continent, is one of them. Forbidden Magic R System, Time Reversal Eclipse, are all works of Jeff. As the Speaker of the Council, Hyperion certainly knew a lot of things that ordinary people didn't. Yes, it's the Eclipse Gate. Qin Yang nodded and said, to turn it on, it requires a huge amount of magic power, especially the magic power of celestial wizards. That's why you held the great demon fight and martial arts. So what? I didn't deceive you. The person who wins the first place can indeed get the magic of the abyss. What's your purpose? Hyperion looked serious, his clenched fists were loose and tight, He wanted to do it, but he didn't dare. The feeling that Emperor Qin gave him was unfathomable. Even the great wizard of the abyss like the world master is only a member of the dream. It is conceivable that Qin Emperor, as the president, must be a powerhouse far beyond the abyss. The purpose is very simple. Go back to 400 years ago and kill the black magician Girth. Qin Yang said calmly, while observing everyone's expressions. I saw that everyone in the audience looked surprised, but they didn't show much resistance. They seemed to kill Jeff, and they expected it to be the same. I lied to you just now. I can suppress a little mouse like Jeff. Qin Yang chuckled. Our goal is to exile all the giant dragons from the age of 10,000 dragons flying together 400 years ago into this age. The goal is the dragon. You're crazy. Hyperion turned pale with shock, his face full of shock. Those are tens of thousands of giant dragons. What will they bring to this era? Do you really know? You still have the face to call yourself peace messengers. You are all demons. A mere 10,000 dragons, so what? A frog at the bottom of a well. Qin Yang was too lazy to talk nonsense. He moved and appeared in front of the duel stage. He walked to the front of the eclipse door and stopped, reaching out and pressing the center of the door. The filling of the magic power has reached 95%. At most 5 minutes, the charging of the eclipse gate will be completed. Qin Yang nodded with satisfaction. Before that, let you frogs in the well get to know you a little bit. King Feng. He whispered softly, and the next moment, there was a phoenix Ming from the sky. A colorful phoenix, dragging a red light, flew from beyond the sky. That phoenix. Someone first noticed the appearance of King Feng, and immediately said in horror, the phoenix that appeared on the first day of the great demon fighting martial arts, could it be said that this phoenix is also a member of the dream? As if responding to his doubts, who hovered over the venue, babbled. I am one of the dreams, the master of life, the colorful phoenix. Feng Ming burst out, and there was an air of peace, and the rainbow light shone down, bathed in it. Everyone felt their vitality recovered, and they were a few years younger out of thin air. Group Susheng. The next moment, King Feng opened his wings, all the rainbow light converged, and then, flying feathers scattered all over the sky, bringing the breath of resurrection. Those more than 10,000 people who died under the collision of the magic power of the abyss, their souls returned from the underworld and returned to the material world. More than 10,000 people opened their eyes one after another, and the first thing they saw was a colorful figure soaring in the sky. I not dead? Resurrected. What the hell is going on here? Number 0.8 people muttered. The thousands of wizards watching the scene all took a deep breath, and their eyes were filled with unparalleled astonishment. More than 10,000 people were resurrected in an instant. Is this the power of the Dream Master? Even Makarov fell into sluggishness. This kind of power has subverted common sense. Jeff is terrible enough, but he wants to resurrect a person. After a long time of research, he just created the R system, and he failed, with many side effects. But this shock did not end, only the sky was shrouded in clouds of holy light. The figure of a 10-winged archangel descended into the world. I am one of the dreams, the master of the sky, the holy archangel. Those who are attacked by the magic of the abyss, the divine light will heal your pain. Divine healing. Holy light shines. At this moment, the entire Fury Kingdom, the sky above it, was shrouded in the cloud of holy light. Angels come. Chapter-701-720 door, open. 2. Holy healing. In the Kingdom of Fury, the cloud of holy light shrouded the entire territory of the country, and the figure of the archangel reflected in the sky. No matter where you were, looking up at the sky, you could clearly see the holy angel in the holy cloud. This scene shocked the world. Projecting his own figure on the sky, and using the cloud of holy light to reflect his huge power to the world, such a terrifying power made everyone in the competition venue feel shaken. Holy Archangel, I remember that after the first round of the first night, Miss Mira used a powerful healing magic. I thought it was super magic, but now it seems that it is the power of an angel. Everyone is awake. Incredible. First the resurrected dead of the Phoenix, and then the group healing of the Archangel. The dream, how does it look different from the rumored one? According to rumors, Dream is the most ferocious and evil dark guild in history, almost to the extent that they will kill your whole family with one glance at them. But will this kind of evil party expend its strength in order to save a group of people who have nothing to do with it? To save more than 10,000 people, even if O9 is a dream master, it will inevitably consume a lot, and maybe there will be terrible side effects. Thinking of this, many people's hostility to dreams has been greatly reduced. Those who learned that they had been rescued were even more grateful to Dade, and they all gave great gifts to King Feng and thanked them respectfully. Makarov was dumbfounded, as if all of a sudden, the dream had really become a messenger of peace. Qinyang thought about Isho, since everyone has recovered, please leave as soon as possible. The magic filling of the eclipse gate has been completed, and I will open the gate to travel through time and space. After a pause, he added, at that time, more than 10,000 giant dragons will come to this era. Although we will solve it, the war will inevitably spread to innocent people. If you don't want to die, it is best to leave. Of course, if you are willing to stay, I am also very welcome to join the magician who will deal with the dragon together. Quote. Hearing this, many people looked at each other in dismay. Someone stood up immediately and said, Emperor Qin, I was affected by the battle between the Realm Master and Jerf before. Thanks to your Phoenix King, I was able to be resurrected. I owe you a favor, you have to introduce the giant dragon into this era. I don't know what you guys want to do, but I will stay here. After a pause, his tone was low, and his eyes were very firm. Although my strength is weak, I will wish you a helping hand. This is also saving the continent. If your actions go wrong, Wanlong will sweep the continent, and then the world will be destroyed. Disaster. Qinyang was a little surprised by these words. If you want to stay, then stay. Qinyang didn't say much, they love to go and stay, as long as they don't regret it. Seeing this, many people chose to stay, but more have already begun to flee and spread the whole news to the outside world. Mila stood in the guest seat and carefully looked at the audience, and about a third of them stayed. Master, the magic of the eclipse gate has been collected. Mira looked towards the dual ring. Progress is 100% and thanks to Jeff's magic one person has contributed a fifth. Qinyang chuckled lightly, and immediately stuck out his right hand. Immediately, where his palm passed, the space rippled, breaking the barrier between the elemental section and the material realm, and grabbed two people directly from the elemental realm. Lucy only felt a flash in front of her eyes. She, who used to be in the Gobi Desert, had already appeared in front of the dual stage. She had a bewildered expression. In the element world, despite the difficulties, she also gained points. Although she was ranked outside the 70th place, why did the element world throw her out without saying, exit? Soon, however, Lucy noticed another person. That was Irene, the great wizard who came second in the second round, and now, just like her, there was a trace of confusion on her face. Qinyang looked at it for a moment and said bluntly, I brought you out. Which one of your dreams are you? Eileen frowned, secretly startled. Qinyang gave her a very different feeling. Her magical nature is special, and she can use feedback to barely know a person's general strength. However, after this kind of detection power spread to Qinyang, it was like a rock sinking into the sea, and there was no feedback at all. Why do you think I'm a dreamer? I can't think of a second possibility other than a dream. I'm the president, you can call me Emperor Qin, or Master. Qinyang, Vivi Isho, said, the Gate of Eclipse has been completed, and your mission will begin soon. If everything goes well, you can join. With that said, he looked at Lucy. Lucy Hatfilia, you are a celestial wizard and need your power to open the Eclipse Gate. The Eclipse Gate. Lucy was at a loss, completely unaware of what was happening now. Don't doubt, just follow the instructions. Qinyang's eyes condensed, and in an instant, his eyes turned into blood-red pupils, and the three Guyu quickly turned into eternal kaleidoscope writing wheels. Don't be a god. In the whisper, Lucy suddenly felt an invasion of will. When everything was over, there was only one thought left in her mind. Open Eclipse Gate. Muttering in her mouth, Lucy walked to the door step by step. Generally speaking, gate of opening requires 12 keys of the zodiac. However, I can directly manifest this kind of thing. The so-called keys are just proofs of contracts. When Qin Yang waved his hand, the power of the illusion condensed the 12 golden keys over Luce's side and inserted them into the Eclipse Gate. Open Eclipse Gate. Luce's eyes were empty, and the only thought in her mind drove her actions. She finally walked to the door and pressed her back on the magic crystal in the center of the door. The next 580 minutes, the golden light overflowed, and the huge magic power of the Star Spirit Wizard was injected into the magic crystal in one breath. In an instant, golden light flooded the entire venue, and everyone narrowed their eyes. Only Qin Yang looked directly at the door. Kakaka. Amidst the heavy sound, after 7 years, this Eclipse Gate, which had reversed the time, opened again. Behind the door is the gap of time. Eileen. Qin Yang turned around and flicked his fingers. Suddenly, a force of time and space merged into the opponent's body. This is a space-time coordinate. Even if you are lost in the long river of time, I can bring you back. Qin Yang said indifferently. Now, the door has opened. It leads to the world 400 years ago, and your mission has begun. Yes. Irene took a deep breath and closed her eyes. After a while, she resolutely stepped into the Eclipse Gate. Emperor Qin, if the first have an accident, I hope you don't disturb Urza, but please take care of her. This is my only request. Yes. Presumably, in the capacity of Lord Qin Emperor, he must be able to speak his mind. Irene laughed, then stepped into the door and disappeared. Seeing this, Qin Yang immediately shook his head. This door is a one-way door. It can only go back to the past from this side, but it cannot come from 400 years ago to the present. With that said, his body slowly floated up. The only way is to create an artificial solar eclipse and create a moon. Chapter-701-720 Make the Moon. The third update. I went to CJ to play today. It was quite interesting. Sorry for the late update. Close black lens bracket. Today, make the moon. Qin Yang's body slowly flew away from the earth, as if breaking free from gravity, and gradually headed towards the sky. Mira, you come to guard the Eclipse Gate. Yes, Master. Mira nodded and looked up at the sky. Qin Yang stepped on the invisible ladder step by step, like stepping on the road to the sky. His figure gradually shrank, but the momentum he exuded began to sweep away. In the audience, countless people murmured blankly. Making the moon. Not kidding. Why make the moon? Impossible. Don't look at the moon's small size, but it is only compared with the planet under our feet. In fact, the moon is so big that it is unimaginable and cannot be created by human beings. It's impossible. Artificial moon, who the hell is crazy? A sentence of doubt sounded. This is not to say that they are very much looking forward to Qin Yang's failure, but that people are instinctively resisting such an incredible thing as making the moon. Because, if even this kind of thing can be done, does it mean that Emperor Qin can make an artificial moon fall toward the planet on which they live if he wants to? At that time, what a terrible disaster will happen, and the whole world will be destroyed. Therefore, they do not want to believe, nor dare to believe. At this time, the figure of Qin Yang, who was walking away from the sky, had completely disappeared and could no longer be observed by the naked eye. But at the same time, some forces on the continent of Ishgar launched satellite magic to track Qin Yang's actions. Although satellite magic can't see everything clearly, it can still capture Qin Yang's position. This is the Dream President. It's a terrible person. He actually walks in the void. Is he not afraid of lack of oxygen? The gravitational force of the planet can't fight against him. Even an abyss-level wizard, it's hard to survive in the universe. Of course, the attention of several satellite magics could not be concealed from Qin Yang. In this regard, Qin Yang doesn't care, there are several audiences, which is also excellent. Then let's begin. After leaving the atmosphere, Qin Yang has already stepped into the universe. He didn't move forward, but Vivi raised his hand and developed his own phantom power to the limit. Since a new moon is to be created, the original one is no longer needed, so let's destroy it. Qin Yang raised his right hand, Vivi grabbed it, and in an instant, the power of the phantom gods in his body suddenly reached a peak state. Ha! The creation of the world is also the destruction of the world, chaos is the order, rebirth in the midst of destruction, the creation of heaven and earth, the spear of heaven. Whoosh! The power of the phantom god evolved into the 5 elements of yin and yang, and on Qin Yang's palm, a pitch-black spear appeared. The tip of the lance is snake-like, and within one spear, it contains the power to destroy the continent. That's not enough. Qin Yang's eyes narrowed, and he sang in his mouth, Xuanzang of heaven and earth, the root of all energy. Cultivating catastrophe widely and proving my supernatural powers. Inside and outside the 3 realms, only the Tao is the only one. As soon as the word of honor fell, in an instant, a golden light stole out of the body. The golden light mantra was originally the power of Dao Zun, but Dao Zun was only 1 star, and now it is driven by the power of the 6th-star illusory god, and its power is far greater than before. Golden light blessing. A low voice, and suddenly, all the golden light was wrapped around the spear. Go, break the moon. Suddenly, Qin Yang waved his hand down. I saw the Chang spear of the sky intertwined with black and gold, going towards the moon at an extreme speed. However, no matter how fast it is very small and slow for the astronomical distance of the Earth-Moon sword. Therefore, Qin Yang distorted the space at the moment when the heavenly Chang spear was launched. The front end of the spear set off ripples, and then escaped into the void. In a short moment, at the end of no close distance, near the moon, Chang's spear suddenly manifested again. Whoosh! Like lightning, it fell to the ground at an almost lightning speed. This blow is almost Qin Yang's strongest force at present. If he can't destroy the planet, he can only use the last resort. That is the suppression of the illusion world, bombarding the planet of another world with the power of one world. As a result, the moon will inevitably be shattered, but the illusion world will also be damaged, so Qin Yang will not use it unless he has to. Because the distance is too far, Qin Yang can't see the specific situation. However, on the other side of the moon, there was a change soon. There was no explosion, there was just a black gold light that pierced the moon with one blow. Immediately afterwards, the entire huge celestial body exploded after collapsing for a few seconds. It seems to be the most beautiful fireworks in hundreds of millions of years, blooming above the sky. Although it was during the day, the owners of satellite magic could see this scene. At this moment, everyone was frightened and scared to pee. The moon was blown up. Impossible. Who the hell is this person? How can human beings have such power? He's not a man, he's a god. Only a god has such terrifying power. The entire Ishgar can sense the disappearance of the moon. Because at this moment, the magic particles in the entire world, the activity level, decreased tenfold. No, the moon disappears, and the magic of the entire world is affected. If this continues, we will enter the era of the end of the law. Someone was shocked. However, Qin Yang didn't care about all this. He looked calmly into the depths of the universe. Almost my strongest force, it failed to completely smash the moon. It just opened a hole, and the moon shattered under its own gravity. Shaking his head, Qin Yang said secretly, however, it doesn't matter, the goal has been achieved. Next, it's making the moon. He stretched out a claw suddenly, and pinched the entire moon from a close distance. This is not to say that he can project his power to such a distance, but that the power carried by the Chang spear of the sky has been integrated into it after piercing the moon. Move me. With a cold snort, Chinyong abruptly retracted his hand and pushed it to one side. The moon seems to be being pulled, and the coordinates and orientation are also changing. This process lasted for a full hour, during which time, the moon barely moved a certain distance, just blocked between the sun. The location is right. Next, it's the artificial moon. Chinyong grinned Isho, and suddenly, his eyes turned from a kaleidoscope to Rinnegan, and then to Jugoyu. Consolidate. Ka. In the universe, the endless floating meteorites fell towards the moon under the projection of pupil power. The tiny meteorites, one by one, slowly piled up, gradually turning the broken moon into a new, artificial moon belonging to Chinyong. And when it was completed, everyone above Ishgar and in fury was surprised to discover. In the sky, a black sun appeared. No, that's not the sun, that's an eclipse. Chapter-701-720 is coming. Solar eclipse, the same pronunciation as solar eclipse. The normally open door of the solar eclipse is a one-way passage. People of this era can go 400 years ago and go back to the past. Therefore, the correct name for the eclipse gate is rewind time eclipse. But when the solar eclipse appears, the door of the solar eclipse will mutate. It should be a kind of time backward magic, and it will become time going. The era 400 years ago will be able to pass through the gate and come to this era. Boom. In the great demon fighting martial arts venue, on the duel stage, the eclipse gate, which had been open all the time, suddenly shook violently. The white patch behind the gate seemed to hear the roar of a giant dragon. Come on, who's circling in the sky, suddenly called out, get ready to fight. Roar. Before the figure appeared, a dragon roar came one step ahead. It was the dragon's breath, which suddenly shot out from the door of the solar eclipse. It was blazing high-temperature energy, as if a single blow would destroy everything within a kilometer. Humph! Even a mere lizard dares to bark. The holy archangel snorted, turned into a streamer of 780, and quickly intercepted it before the dragon's breath. His 10 wings trembled and crossed in front of him, directly dispelling the dragon breath that was blowing towards him in one breath. It's so strong. Is this the master of dreams? Some people in the audience were shocked. Facing the giant dragon, it's no inferior, no, even surpassing it. Just as he was talking, inside the eclipse gate, a dragon of flames crawled out brazenly. Winged human. No, pure energy body. Interesting, this era is so interesting. The flame dragon is constructed of flames, and at this moment he laughed loudly. I am the flame dragon, Galamandus. This era will be dominated by me. However, as soon as it finished speaking, an angry grunt sounded. I saw the direction of Wangdu, an emerald green figure, flying over the sky and covering the sun. HMPH, you want to dominate this era. Stop laughing at me. It's you guy. Impossible, isn't this 400 years later? A perfect world where the black dragon has perished. Emerald dragon, Kirkinus, why are you still alive? Kakaka, you seem unhappy that I am alive. The emerald dragon came down and directly crushed the auditorium on one side. Galamandus, now I have joined the command of Lord Deathwing and become a member of the dragon army, for the sake of our acquaintance. I advise you to surrender quickly. What bullshit giant dragon army? The flame dragon was furious. You idiot, you have fallen into the company of humans, and you are trampling on the dignity of the giant dragon. Predict. Damn dignity. Roar. The two giant dragons didn't talk about speculation, and they fought directly. Suddenly, the power of the two-headed dragon razed the competition venue to the ground. However, in the thick smoke and dust, inside the door of the solar eclipse, 3 giant dragons appeared again. I'm out. What a magical power this is. It's great. The magic power of this era is so rich that it makes the dragon's heart happy. Ha ha ha. Let's do it now, before the other goddamn guys come. Rule the world. I haven't eaten a human in a long time since that damn woman named Irene appeared. I'm going to kill 3-headed dragons, 1 black, 1 yellow, and one purple, represent shadow, earth, and poison respectively. Even in the Age of Dragons, the 3 dragons are extremely powerful dragons. Roaring loudly at this moment, Longwei shocked the entire capital. A mere ant dare to make trouble in front of this dragon. Suddenly, a cold hum sounded, and along with this cold hum, black clouds suddenly appeared in the sky. Boom! As if the wrath of God, a thunderbolt fell directly towards the 3 dragons. Damn, who? Sanlong looked up and saw that in the dark cloud, a divine dragon rolled the sky, sticking out a dragon head, mighty Haki. I am a sea dragon, a dream, the master of the ocean. Heilong hooked his claws and looked at Sanlong with contempt. This dragon has more than enough to deal with the 3 of you, come and lead to death. Bastard, mere earthworm, so arrogant. What a dream, what a master, since you dare to hinder us from ruling the world, you should die. The 3 dragons were furious and immediately flew into the air, attacking the sea dragon. At the same time, the door of the eclipse, like an old hen placing an order, spit out giant dragons one by one. 1, 5, 10 in the blink of an eye, dozens of giant dragons have appeared above the ruins. Although I don't know what's going on, but the magic of this era is too abundant. I propose that we first divide the chassis and face a conflict. Yes, I want the continent of Ishgar, and the western continent belongs to you. Do you want to die? Daclius Voss. The dozens of giant dragons that appeared here have already started a turf battle. However, above the sky, 4 Dragon King level auras suddenly appeared. This is Dragon Neil. Is the Fire Dragon King here? No, no, look, heaven. Dozens of dragons stopped arguing and looked at them all. I saw the direction of the solar eclipse, where the black sun was, and the 4-headed dragon was rushing towards it. Fire Dragon, Dragon Neil. Iron Dragon, Metallicana. Sky, Grandin. Black Dragon Akunologia. No 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 no, impossible. Why is the Black Dragon here? Impossible. That woman Irene is lying to us. The Black Dragon of this era still exists. No, I'm going back. As soon as the Black Dragon appeared, the giant dragon was so frightened that he wanted to drill back into the eclipse gate. Idiot, we have so many dragons here, what are we afraid of him doing? A dragon hummed angrily. Also, the aura of the Black Dragon is obviously much weaker than what I know. That's right, don't say anything, let's kill him together. Roar. Suddenly, another roar came out. I saw that the door of the solar eclipse, as if unable to withstand the pressure, vibrated in the distance. Suddenly, the door flew into the sky, shining with endless white light. Boom. After a loud bang and a dazzling white light, a big explosion appeared at the gate, which exploded like a beautiful firework, throwing out countless thousands of streamers. Each of these streamers is a giant dragon. At this moment, Wanlong comes. Chapter-710-All Dreams come on stage. Wanlong is coming. Are many more giant dragons emerging from the gate of the solar eclipse? Tens of thousands of giant dragons hovered above the sky in the capital. This scene was so amazing that everyone below was frightened. There really are Wanlong. It's over, this era is over. 1 dragon can destroy a country, 10,000 dragons, the whole continent, no, the whole world will turn into hell. Dream really brought the giant dragon 400 years ago into this era. Run, it's good to live one more second, hurry up. Everyone is fleeing, and the audience who chose to stay before did not hesitate at this moment. Although Qin Yang said Wanlong before, no one would believe it. Even if there are a few or a dozen of them, with so many of them, with their combined efforts, they might be able to fight. The title of the leader, become a hero to be admired, turned pale as paper in front of more than 10,000 giant dragons. This desperate comparison of combat power has already defeated everyone's bottom line of defense. How will this era end? Makarov murmured dumbly, even if he was a giant dragon, he would not dare to win easily, let alone 10,000. Ha ha ha, the magic of this era really surprises the dragon. Above the sky, 10,000 dragons flew together. These giant dragons from 400 years ago all seemed extremely excited and arrogant. One after another, the dragon's breath fell from the sky, turning the earth into purgatory and death. Is that all? Suddenly, above the sky, in a higher place, a figure slowly descended. Qin Yang's eyes swept across all the giant dragons and counted the number. 13,500. Nearly 500 young dragons. About 14,000, not bad. Qin Yang nodded in satisfaction. Immediately, his eyes condensed, and a huge momentum enveloped the world in an instant. Boom! Time and space vibrated, the earth whimpered. At this moment, all the giant dragons turned pale in unison, only to feel that there was an invisible force that would knock them down into the sky. Who? Soon, all the giant dragons discovered Qin Yang. Then, the Holy Archangel, the Sea Dragon, the King of Feng, and the King of the Fire Dragon all quickly surrounded Qin Yang. I am Emperor Qin. Qin Yang raised his hand, letting the rest of the people not rush for a while, then took a few steps forward and stepped on the void to face Wanlong. It's me who brought you into this world from a time ago. 2. You. HMPH, there are people who are sensible among human beings. Very good, I won't eat you. Yulong spoke arrogantly. Of the giant dragons are arrogant, but not every brain is not easy to use. A thunder dragon with lightning flashes all over his body said in a deep voice. So, that woman named Irene was also sent by you 400 years ago. Huh. Qin Yang raised his eyebrows in surprise. I didn't expect the giant dragon to have a good brain, completely different from the silly lizard just now. Who are you calling a lizard, a human? The dragon was furious earlier, and it opened its mouth with a dragon's breath. However, Qin Yang didn't even look at it, and flicked his fingers. Immediately, an invisible phantom power was projected, shattering the dragon's breath with one blow, knocking the giant dragon into the sky. Ah! The giant dragon cried out in pain, as if his wings had been broken off by life. It fell into the sky. The rest of the giant dragons froze when they saw this. The thunder dragon said, Emperor Qin, what purpose did you bring our giant dragon into this era? You are invited to join a organization that spans the heavens. Qin Yang chuckled and said, we have 3 major legions under our dream. The first is the Undead Legion, the second is the Sea Beast Legion, and the third is the Element Legion. In addition, there is a 4th legion, the Giant Dragon Legion. You belong to the Giant Dragon Legion, and become an army of our dreams to conquer the heavens and the world. Qin Yang once said specifically, most of the giant dragons were not interested. The only thing I heard was probably to let them join a certain army. This angered the dragon clan all of a sudden, and an angry roar sounded immediately. Human, you are really courting death. You want to enslave the great Xingqianlong. Human, you have completely angered me. Even the thunder dragon with a good attitude couldn't help but say in a low voice, everything is based on strength. I don't know what your dreams are, but if you want to enslave our more than 10,000 giant dragons, are you crazy? He he he. Qin Yang couldn't help laughing. After a while, he shook his head and said, the negotiation failed, as expected. However, you are right in saying that everything is based on strength. The weak follow the strong, and ambition matches strength. This is the eternal truth. If so, then let you see the power of an organization capable of spanning the heavens. Saying that, Qin Yang waved his hand and shot out a white light. The white light shone and did not possess offensive properties, but under the white light, figures slowly condensed. Shadow Demon. 9 Tails. Ibaraki. The Lich King. Uchiha Itachi. The Great Demon King of Fear. Aizen. Azir. King of Heroes Gilgamesh. Divine Beast Raiko. Accelerator. Uchiha Madara. And one times Seimei. Snow Saint. Every figure that appears has a name. The powerhouses appeared one after another, and the huge momentum intertwined, almost overwhelming the giant dragon 1.2 and couldn't breathe. The last dragon chant came. Roar. The last white light flew into the sky and turned into a giant dragon. Giant dragon seems to have existed for 100,000 years. Of breath is very sensitive to the dragon family. You, Thunderbolt murmured in shock, who are you? Huh. Deathwing snorted coldly and roared threateningly at all the giant dragons. My name is Deathwing, the destroyer of destiny, the end of all things, unstoppable. There is no disobedience. I am the cataclysm. I am the source of catastrophe, the guardian of the earth. I am the king of black dragons, the king of ancient times. I lead the giant dragon army. I am the great master, the army commander. His words resounded in all directions. Megatron all giant dragons. Chapter-701-Big Melee. I am the great master, the army commander. The anger of Deathwing resounded, and the entire capital, those who had not yet had time to escape, could clearly hear it. Shu Bolian, Mira, Makarov, and many other hidden holy 10th level existences all showed shocking expressions. Dream there are so many members. And the aura of each one is so terrifying. It's really terrifying. Most of these people, we have never met before. Even Mira was shocked. Not long after she joined Dream, she only knew that Dream had 4 great masters, a vice president, and the president. Unexpectedly, there were so many faces that had never been seen before. At this moment, Shui Sheng took a step forward, opened the folding fan with one hand, and swayed gently. I am one of the 4 masters, the Ice and Snow Master, Shui Sheng. Miss Mila, we should meet for the first time. Yes, first meeting, Lord Zusheng. Mira was under a lot of pressure. She roughly understands that the Great Master is almost equivalent to the Abyss. Let me introduce to you, this is the Master of Yin and Yang in 09, Lu Daoban. That King Feng is the Master of Life, and the power of resurrection I have mastered as its power. The last one is the Wings of Death, Destruction. Overlord, you already know. Shui Sheng smiled and had a leisurely attitude. Although he was introducing to Mira, he kept his eyes on the myriad dragons in front of him. Mira moved in her heart, but suddenly said, where's the Realm Master? He is also Abyss, why is he not the Master? He is quite special and is expected to become the Vice President level. What about Daozhen? He should be one of ours too, right? Mira thought of the terrifying guy who hit 100,000 magic points with one blow. He's more special, beyond our fantastical system. Shui Sheng shook his head and did not give Daozhen the title of Master, the Great Master, because he didn't need it. The phantom body of Daozhen would not have appeared so early. Even if he was given a title, it would not be long before he had to change his name. After all, if it reaches a 5-star level, or even a 6-star level, the power of the Dao Venerable might be comparable to the current body, or even surpass it. It is very possible to break the stars with a single thought. Mira nodded suddenly, and she knew that it was impossible for such a terrifying existence to appear for no reason. Daozhen was indeed a member of the dream. Just thinking about it, Shui Sheng said again, of course, this is only part of the power of our dreams. We rule 3 worlds, and we govern hundreds of millions of people, and there are countless masters. Those dream characters who have appeared in the dream world or actually all of them actually exist, but they are not from this world. If necessary, we have the ability to summon them across the border. Quote. 3 worlds. Mira lost his mind. What kind of terrifying organization is this? It actually spans several worlds, and it has a dominant position. Seeing his sluggish appearance, Shui Sheng chuckled and put the folding fan away. Of course, all the power we have in our hands is not worth mentioning in front of Lord Qin. Master. Mila murmured. She suddenly remembered that Qin Yang created the moon, and she was even more absent-minded. At this moment, Qin Yang spoke calmly and said, this is the end of the gossip. The expansion of the giant dragon army is unstoppable. If Wanlong refuses to accept it, then kill Wanlong, even if it is a corpse, it is enough. Hearing this, the Lich King's eyes flashed and he immediately raised his right hand. The dragons are self-righteous, and I'm here to keep them awake. Between the words, the power of the soul swept through, and in front of the Lich King, in the vortex of the soul, a frost dragon was born. Summon Sindragosa. Roar. Summon allies. Kakaka. Above the ground, skeletons were crawling out of the ground. That is the undead, the army of the undead from the yellow springs of hell, like ants, densely packed, all over the end of sight. Seeing this scene, Makarov was horrified. With this kind of power, what can stop him on land? He was astonished. The characteristics of the undead make it extremely difficult to kill, and with this huge number, even if you want to conquer the entire continent, no country can resist. Quote. Shu Bolian, who was hiding in the ruins, also pulled out his heart, and he was so frightened that he was in a panic. The sky is my territory, I will shoot them down. Suddenly, the holy archangel moved. His 10 wings vibrated and immediately flew above the dragon group at lightning speed. Angel shines. Boom. The shadow of the archangel reflects the sky and the earth, and the cloud of holy light that covers the entire country has turned into the appearance of an angel. 10 pure white and sacred wings, emitting 1,000 radiance. The next moment, these holy lights turned into streaks of meteor radiance, hitting Wanlong. Boom boom boom. In an instant, hundreds of giant dragons screamed in pain and were knocked down into the sky. What's the point of this slow attack? Liu Daoban snorted coldly, and immediately stepped out, walking in the air. If you want to fight, solve it as soon as possible. As soon as the words fell, suddenly, above the clouds, a huge celestial body with a diameter of several thousand meters suddenly fell towards the group of dragons. Heavenly shocks the stars. Boom. The terrifying stars smashed people, but it didn't stop. Above the heavenly body, there was a bigger black star. Hey! A giant dragon turned pale in shock. That woman named Irene, with a move of the star of the gods, learned from this guy. 400 years ago, Irene used a god's star collapse, on the western continent, almost destroyed a fifth of the continent and killed hundreds of giant dragons. Therefore, among these giant dragons, many people have a deep memory of this trick. However, it is clear that although the two moves are similar, they are completely different. This dream is too hateful. I want to enslave the dragons. Only by completely destroying them can I quell my anger. A giant dragon shining like a star, instead of retreating, advanced towards Qinyang. Seeing this, Shui Sheng chuckled lightly. You are not worthy of fighting with Lord Qin Emperor. This saint will send you to a place deep cold frontier. In the wave of the hand, the wind and snow were raging, and after a gust of snow, the giant dragon disappeared. Seeing this scene, many dragons were shocked and their faces were extremely ugly. What did you do? It's nothing, I'll give you another present. Shui Sheng rolled up the snow and opened his right palm, only to see an ice and snow holy lotus slowly unfolding above his palm. Go, frozen sacred lotus. This flying sworn snow lotus is extremely beautiful, she is budding, and under the wind and snow, it falls to the dragon group. What does this little snow lotus want to do? I swallowed it in one bite. The dragon was annoyed and felt despised. However, in the next instant, there was a loud bang. A magnificent snow lotus suddenly bloomed above the sky. In an instant, everything, like a picture, is now in a freeze-frame state. This is what? The dragon's brain was sluggish. Eat. Shui Sheng dismissed. You are the shame of the dragon clan, a beast with a low IQ. Chapter-701-720 You are too weak. The first update it's too late to play, and the update is a little slow. By the way, the problem of the protagonist breaking the moon, the reason why it cannot be completely broken with one blow is because it is too far away. The distance of 400,000 kilometers is roughly equivalent to 40 round trips from Shanghai to Washington. Most of the protagonist's power is consumed on the way to deliver the heavenly Chang spear, just like a nuclear bomb, which needs to be delivered by rockets, and the fuel occupies a large part of the weight, which is similar. If the protagonist is standing on the moon, let alone the body, even Jin Shining can do similar things. Close black lens bracket. Shame on the dragon family, low IQ. Snow Saint taunted. The ice and snow holy lotus bloomed among the dragons, and the magnificent and beautiful lotus bloomed proudly, and immediately radiated an extreme chill to a radius of 10,000 meters. This chill, even the thinking is frozen, more than half of the dragons feel that their thinking is slow, as if the flow of time in the whole world has become slow. This is what? The flying posture of the giant dragon seems to be frozen, and the brilliance of the stars and the giant dragon has become like a snail, slowly projecting outwards. What a high resistance! Shui Sheng raised his eyebrows. If it was a human of the same level, it would have fallen into a state of rigid thinking. A giant dragon is a giant dragon, and its resistance to cold is very good. You bastard! A magma dragon, with lava flowing all over its body, and its wings exuding extreme heat and high temperature, because it was far away, it was not completely attacked by the power of the ice and snow Saint Lotus, and it roared angrily at this moment. Human, you are provoking the great Dicardo. I will not forgive you. Despite its roar, after being furious, the magma dragon turned around and quickly fled towards the outside world. Not only it, there are at least hundreds of giant dragons, and their consciousness is very clear. After seeing the terrifying power of dreams, they can escape without hesitation at all. The arrogance and self-esteem of the dragon race are really nothing compared to being enslaved. Why fight to the death with the dream? There is absolutely no need to let other giant dragons drag each other's footsteps, escape by themselves, and find a place to be king and hegemon. Wouldn't it be nice? Most of these giant dragons who escaped for the first time thought like this. Anyway, they didn't mean to fight with the dream. There were more than 14,000 dragons. The other party wanted to catch them, but they couldn't catch them. It's really disappointing. If you all work together, you can't say there is a chance of a battle, but you're thinking of running. With a smile on his face, Aizen took a step forward, and the interference force immediately invaded time and space, reducing the space distance. After one step, he directly stepped out of a distance of tens of thousands of meters and intercepted the fleeing dragons in front of you. One of the giant dragons stunned and said in shock, "Space magic." J. Magic. There's nothing wrong with that. Aizen Vivi, he chuckled. All powers have the same goal, it's just the difference in nature and expression. At least I've seen it, most of them are like this. As soon as the voice fell, the interference force spread like a spider web, blocking a large space attached to the entire royal capital. A giant dragon slammed into it directly, as if he had fallen into a maze. The strange power of space made him turn back and couldn't take another step forward. What? Give it up, I have blocked this area. Not to mention you, even the black dragon can't escape. Aizen grinned, admiring the other party's struggles. Being obediently surrendering and joining the giant dragon army can spare your life. Crazy. Who would have expected that more than 10,000 giant dragons were actually calculated, and the other party was so arrogant that he wanted to hunt giant dragons, much crazier than the original black dragon Akunorokia. Fight you, human. Immediately, hundreds of giant dragons who had fled were furious and attacked one by one. Let's join forces to kill him, and then go to the western continent to divide up the territory and not invade each other. In an instant, hundreds of different dragon breaths suddenly converged into a powerful force, calling towards Aizen. The combination of this force can almost threaten the great wizard at the abyss level. If it erupts, it can instantly annihilate most of the country. Desperately, what gave you the illusion that if you were serious enough, you could be my opponent? Aizen's posture was full of leeway, and he didn't even mean to resist. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm not a human, I used to be a god of death. Now, to describe the level of your world, it should be God. The dragon breath that gathered hundreds of powers, after approaching Aizen, was actually interfered by an invisible force, and it took the initiative to split to both sides. Seeing this scene, all the dragons were shocked. Impossible god level. In the place where the dragons fought, farther north, up the stream. The dragon of the earth entangled Jerf, smashed the opponent's magic with one tail, and smashed Jerf into the air. Listen. Above the sky, the Lord of Elements made a listening action. The Wanlong has appeared, and our plan is going well. Hearing this, Jeff rolled hundreds of meters on the ground, covered with scars and blood on the corners of his mouth. He quickly escaped the grasp of the Earth Dragon, and quickly retreated until he fell into the stream and stepped on the river. Your plan. I can feel that there seem to be countless dragons over there. What do you want to do? Who knows? The eyes of the Lord of Elements were cold, and the plain eyes came out from under the mask, looking down at Jeff. However, I am very surprised. You are unexpectedly weak. You are also at the abyss level. You are much stronger than the Black Dragon. Even my pet is difficult to deal with. You are really Jeff, known as the strongest black magician in history. Sergeant. Jeff was silent. Mevis, who was watching the battle from a distance, smiled wryly. Jeff is too weak. No, it's because this world lord is too strong, and has reached the peak of the abyss. I am afraid it is stronger than the Black Dragon. The Dragon of the Earth draws the power of the leyline elements of a country to condense, and in the territory of fury, it can exert the power that is infinitely close to the abyss. In a one-on-one situation, Mevis is not confident that he can win unless he uses super magic. It's really boring. The Lord of Elements looked at each other with cold eyes, raised his finger a little, and immediately, the power of the four elements formed a spiral, turning into a force of chaos in his palm. You're too weak, Jeff, what a disappointment. As soon as the voice fell, a mixed impact, ignoring the distance of time and space, directly penetrated Jeff's heart. Puff. This is. Jeff waited until his eyes were full of incredible expressions. God. Chapter-701-720 Wizard Mode. This is God. Jeff murmured somewhat incredulously. He covered his mouth, where the power of chaos was annihilating his body. Earth, water, fire and wind evolve into chaos. This is the power that creates all things. Even when time touches chaos, it will be distorted. This magical attribute is the power of the gods. Jeff shone, and his heart disappeared completely, but even so, he could still stand there and talk a lot of nonsense. The curse of the god Anxalam, granting him immortality. He. The Lord of Elements chuckled and said, I'm not a god, but after creating the element world, I can naturally use this power. Although it can't kill you, it can suppress the curse in your body a little. A pause, he added. Since just now, you have been timid and unwilling to release your powerful magic because of the curse. No matter how weak Jeff is, it is still an abyss, and he will not be eaten to death by a dragon of the earth. After much deliberation, there is only the question of the curse. In order to prevent the curse from breaking out, Jeff has been afraid to use black magic. Your performance is so disappointing to me. Now I will help you suppress the curse. At most 1/4 of an hour, you can control your power as you like. The Lord of Elements looked indifferent. Please me a little, let me see the dying struggle of the strongest black wizard in history. Hearing this, Jeff lowered his head. He covered his heart with one hand, and in just a few words, the curse of God Anxalam had begun to counterattack, and his heart was emitting a dark breath and was rapidly repairing. But the magic of chaos is fighting against the power of the curse, preventing it from erupting. Suddenly, Jeff laughed and let out a series of low laughs. When I was very young, I mastered all the magic that I could learn at that time. I was in the academy, and the tutor couldn't teach me more knowledge. There are 1,000 types of magic that I have mastered. Or 3,000. I don't remember. I know almost all magic. He said softly and slowly raised his head. I started to get in touch with lost magic, that is, ancient magic, the arc of time, the arc of the tree, the arc of manifestation, etc., etc. I tried to learn it. But it didn't satisfy me, and in the end I embarked on the path of black magic. He talked to himself like a memory, telling the past of his genius. When he was very young, the dragon destroyed his hometown. His parents and younger brother all died in the disaster. He survived by luck and joined Yao's Magic Academy, showing a very talented side. He can master any magic at an unbelievable speed, and in order to resurrect his younger brother, he begins to offend Jinji of life. It was then that he was cursed by the god Anxalam and turned into an immortal monster. The curse of contradictions brought me a new world at the beginning. It was a realm above magic, and it was the power of gods. This was the first time I came into contact with the level of gods. Between the words, the dragon of the earth struck. It roared and dived down towards Jeff. Seeing this, Jeff's eyes narrowed, and a faint black light radiated from his body. He stretched out his right hand, and the magic power compressed and converged in the palm of his hand. God's power is so unreasonable, it is power that defies all common sense. Come down to me. With a light drink, Jeff's right palm pressed. In an instant, the body of the dragon of the earth was also wrapped in black magic power. It failed to reach Jeff, and was slapped to the ground by an extremely heavy force. Roar! The dragon of the earth roared, as if the earth was roaring and shaking, looking extremely angry. However, its struggles failed to shake the dark magic that suppressed it. In studying the curse of the god Anxalam, I discovered something. Although black magic can enable people to reach extremely high levels, it is absolutely impossible to enter the realm of gods. If you want to enter the realm of the gods, you have to combine the earth, water, fire and wind to achieve a new magical attribute. Jeff smiled, and a ray of light appeared in the dark magic around him, but what I chose was different. I chose darkness and light. Although it has never been successful, I can reach that level in a short time. Exerting the power beyond the limit. Quote. Between the words, the magic of light suddenly shone, and in an instant, Jeff's hair was dyed white. Behind him, a pair of wings of light appeared. The White Mage. Boom. The huge magic power rises into the sky, and the amount of magic power is as heavy as the sea. Just standing in this area made Mebus feel difficult to breathe. She waited until her eyes and looked at Jeff in disbelief. Has a lot of similarity with her, Fairy Heart. Oh. In midair, the Lord of Elements raised his eyebrows. The nature of magic power has changed, which is interesting. The level of magic power has surpassed me now. Is it darkness and light? He talked so much before, just wanted to see what Jeff would do. Because he was stuck in the realm of the gods, there was no other way for the time being, so he wanted to see what Jeff would do. Now the opponent's white mage mode, although a bit interesting, is still roughly expected. Regret it. Suppressing my curse and letting me unscrupulously release my power is your biggest mistake. Jeff's body floated up out of thin air, his hands went up and down, and the palms were pressed against each other, during which the magic power gathered, constricted, and compressed, forming a magic ball containing a trace of law. Goblin's Law. The Lord of Elements snorted softly. Do you think this kind of super magic is useful to me? It's not a goblin's law, it's a devil's law. No, it's a fusion of a demon and a goblin. It's Jeff's law. As soon as the voice fell, all of a sudden, a white light shone, covering the world. This terrifying magical aura almost spread to the place where the dragons were fighting. The Lord of Elements was locked by magic head-on. Jeff's law. He sneered, imitating. In an instant, the earth, water, fire and wind formed a ball of 4 elements in the palm of the hand. Within this small ball, it was as if the world was evolving, and various laws were first born. The element of earth sinks, the element of wind rises, the element of water spreads all over the world, and the element of fire burns chaos. It's a coincidence that I can do this kind of magic too. The next moment, the magic burst, and the 2 abyss-level forces collided with each other, and in an instant, the area was broken into pieces. The earth is shattered, space is distorted. Chapter-701-720 Realm 1. Boom. The collision of 2 huge abyss magic powers shattered the sky in an instant, and the mountains, rivers and rivers were all affected. The earth rolled back, and the river flowed against it. The nature of the power of the white mage Jerf has reached the level of God, and it can be said that it is comparable to the Lord of Elements. Mavis stared at him, staring at both sides of the war without blinking. She condensed the wall of light in front of her, resisting the aftermath. These two people have already approached God, and they are only one step away from stepping into the realm of God. Mavis' eyes were solemn. Does the level of God really exist? In what form? Or is it like that Vice Chairman ran? She clenched her fists, anxious in her heart. Not to mention her thoughts, the Lord of Elements continued to output magic power, and the aftermath of the collision shattered the mountains and rivers in this area. The rivers stopped flowing, and the mountains collapsed. It was a mess, like hell. There is a pair of wings of light behind Jeff's back, like a ribbon. I'm really surprised that you imitated my magic after reading it once. The same kind of magic, different attributes. As a result, the Lord of Elements is slightly stronger. I am the elemental life itself, the miracle itself, the essence of magic, any magic in the world. If I read it once, I can understand it. The Lord of Elements said lightly. What other tricks are there? You can take them out all at once. This is a headache. Jeff's face was calm. Even this move is useless to you. It seems that it is impossible to make a quick decision. I still want to fight quickly. You are too arrogant. The Lord of Elements sneered, and immediately waved his hand, scrolling through the space, and the element world in his body suddenly opened. Seeing that you have performed a monkey show for a long time, let's change the place a little bit. The element world invaded the material world, tearing apart the space and swallowing Jeff. Elemental world, flaming mountain. Orgast stood on the top of the mountain, leaning on his wand, quietly looking at this elemental world. Suddenly, several people walked behind him. God Serena said impatiently, what is the purpose of calling us here on purpose? Sorcerer, what's the matter? I'm busy hunting elemental life. Another female magician said. Who are these people? The gate of Hades. Ah, the demons created by His Majesty are just trash, useless things. Another person spoke in a ghostly voice. This person was extremely gloomy, not like a human being. Degree. Didn't you find it? Suddenly, Lacade, who was carrying the cross, said, we can't get out. What? You? Several people were immediately startled, and then they all looked at Orcaster. The old man glanced at a few people, then shook his head and sighed. The master of this element world is fighting with His Majesty, so we are trapped. Your Majesty, find Your Majesty. The female mage was extremely surprised. Hearing this, Orgast swept his gaze and said solemnly, Death, Bradman, Zanji, Timeria, Judge, Val, God, Serena, and Lacade Germany. Hearing several names, Lacade suddenly frowned. Irene is gone. That's all I have to say. Orcaster's eyes were cold. If nothing else, she has already betrayed. Impossible. Zanji shook her head. How could she betray? She is also called Alvarez Double Wall, with you. Halfway through, her face suddenly became ugly. Sure enough, betrayal, she murmured in a low voice. My time magic retraces the magic power of the past, and found the trace of her disappearance. She was taken away by someone who broke the space and took it away. Disappeared together, and a little girl, it should be a celestial wizard. Speaking of this, her eyes showed a hint of fear. That person is too scary. I tried to trace the person who took Irene away, and I saw a void. At the end of the time magic, what is seen is nothingness, and there is no figure of that person at all. As if that person, time cannot leave traces on each other. What a terrifying person. Zanji was startled, her face covered in cold sweat. That person is a terrifying existence that surpasses His Majesty. He. Suddenly, a burst of laughter sounded. I saw that above the sky, 4 streams of light fell on the top of the mountain, and then 3 men and 1 woman appeared. What you see is Lord Qin Emperor. Fire Element Lord sneered and said disdainfully, if you can see a trace of Lord Qin Emperor, you are a woman who is proud of yourself. Elemental life. Death's eyes narrowed. Also, it's still in human form. Are you lords? Yes, We are the four lords of the element world. The only woman chuckled and said, at the order of the Lord of the world, we will solve you all. If you surrender obediently, you can enjoy the treatment of prisoners. Ha ha ha, the treatment of prisoners. Judge Val couldn't help laughing. We protect the 12 shields, and we have never been prisoners. How many of you elemental beings dare to speak madly? Your realm masters come and try almost trying. The wind element was furious. You are also worthy of fighting with the world master. It's useless to talk about it, just kill him. As soon as the voice fell, the four elements roared in unison, and the body exploded. Boom. The entire element world was scrolled, and the flame mountain under the feet of everyone seemed to have come alive and turned into a giant directly. That is the body of the fire element lord. The sea is the lord of the water element, the forest is the lord of the earth element, and the storm above the Gobi is the lord of the wind element. The entire element world is composed of four major element lords. An enemy of us is an enemy of the entire element world. The four said in unison. Seeing this scene, the faces of the Orgast group changed slightly. It's not very easy to deal with. These four-headed element lords are of the same level as us, don't be careless. Don't worry, I will pierce through this elemental world with one shot. The judge said angrily. Seeing that the battle between the two sides is about to break out, it is at this moment. In the sky of the element world, a huge vortex appeared. In the center of the vortex, two figures flew out one after another, and that was Jeff and the Lord of Elements. Where are you going? The Lord of Elements chuckled and grabbed the void with his right palm. Immediately, a vast ocean descended from the sky, turned into the palm of the sea god, and grabbed at Jeff. Oh, your white mage mode is nothing more than that. Chapter-701-5 Realm 2. The first update There are still a few more pictures of Fairy Tale. It's almost over. Don't rush it I've been playing in Shanghai for the past few days, and the update time is a bit messy. I'm sorry, I'll go back tomorrow. After I go back finish writing the last few pictures of Fairy Tale. In the next world, there is a 90% chance that it will be Duba. In the end, I will discuss it with the editor. No problem, it is Duba. Close black lens bracket. Your white mage mode is nothing more than that. The Lord of Elements slapped it with a palm, and the sky turned into the sea, like the palm of a sea god, and fell directly towards Jeff. That is the palm of the sky, covering the sky and the sun, almost covering the entire element world. Facing this blow, Jeff was shocked to find that he had nowhere to hide. Immediately, he raised his hand decisively, and immediately, the magic of light raged, turning into beams of light, swiping towards Wahai. Boom boom boom. The continuous collisions and roars, as if the entire elemental world will be shattered, the abyss-level battles and gestures are the power to destroy the sky and destroy the earth. However, Jeff's face became ugly. Impossible, how did you become stronger again? His endless light bullets could not stop Huahai's palm, and he was finally knocked down with one blow, falling directly under the flame mountain. And that endless water element is like a maggot in the Tarsus, suppressing Jeff to the death. It's not that I'm getting stronger, it's that this is my full strength. The Lord of Elements fell down lightly, stepped on the sea water, and stared at Jeff, who was suppressed at the end of the deep sea. I reached the abyss level a month ago. After that, I traveled all over the world and the mountains. I collected the pure elemental power of the entire continent and built the elemental world. It can be said that most of my power is maintained, running with the element world, so, in this world, I am the real me, the world master, the founder of a world. The element world is located in the body of the master of the elements, and the relationship between the two is very close. In the material world, the outside world, the power that the Lord of Elements can show is only half of the level of Peak 1. It turns out that you want to create the element world as the foundation and step into the realm of the gods. However, you failed. Jeff was suppressed in the depths of the sea, and a huge magic force trapped his actions from all directions. Failed. The Lord of Elements smiled and said, to be precise, it is half the battle. I can't show God-level power in the outside world, but in the elemental world, I am a god. Between words, he snapped his fingers. Immediately, the sky exploded, and then at the end of the sky, above the sky, thunder and lightning suddenly fell. Thunder, and the thunder and lightning as thick as a giant python directly bombarded the sea like breaking through the sea, hitting Jeff's body. Ming! Ah ah ah! Jeff screamed, his body was hit by lightning, and all his bones were shattered. Even the curse of God Anxalam in the body was dispelled at this moment. What? Jeff's eyes widened, and he said with horror, "You can actually resist the curse." I said, "In the elemental world, I am a god. Earth, water, fire, and wind evolve all things, and thunder and lightning are the most restrained forces among them. They are upright and domineering. Your curse, under constant bombardment, will only gradually be weakened. And after a certain point, you can also die." Quote. The Lord of Elements spoke calmly. Under his will, he gathered the power of the entire element world to bombard Jeff with divine thunder. It's a pity that in you I see no hope of stepping into the realm of the gods. You're useless, Jeff. Damn, why are you getting in my way? Jeff's eyes were blinded with blood and tears, his eardrums were shattered, and he lost his hearing. It's not that we want to hinder you, it's you who sent it out on your own initiative. This world will be brought under the jurisdiction of our dreams. Either you surrender or disappear. The Lord of Elements shook his head. I don't think you have the possibility of surrendering, so just disappear. Jeff, I'll ask you one last question. What do you want to say? Jeff's struggle became weaker, and the curse aura on his body became weaker and weaker, and his undead body was gradually disappearing. Apart from wanting to die, what are your last words? A charity. Jeff laughed, but Isho, the power of thunder and lightning began to quickly destroy his life, and he couldn't laugh anymore. You won. I didn't expect that. You don't need your vice president to take action. I can't even beat you. You are not from this world, right? If you can, I think please send me to a place without magic. A world without a curse. I just want to relive what it's like to be human. Really? The Lord of the Elements was unmoved. If I can, I will satisfy you, send you to a peaceful world without supernatural power, and give you a new life. Correspondingly, your Alvarez Empire will be waited for by me. Dream take over. Quote. Jeff was silent for a long time, and seemed to have lost the breath of life. It wasn't until the last moment that he sighed, his white wizard mode disappeared and he returned to his original black-haired youth. With the last bit of his strength, he sent a book out. This is my temporary request, please return this end book to Natsu. As a big brother, I am not a qualified big brother. I hope he can. The latter words have faded away. Under the bombardment of the gods and thunder, hundreds of invasions, the curse of the god Anxalam dissipated, and Jerf died, not even a trace of magic was left behind. And that book of end, this flew into the hands of the Lord of Elements. It's a pity, it's rare to find a magic genius, probably the most qualified person in this world. The Master of Elements shook his head regretfully, and looked at the Book of End for a long time before putting it away. At this time, the four lords had already come to see him at 1.7. I have seen the Lord of the World. The four spoke respectfully, full of enthusiasm. To them, the Lord of the Elements is the Father, the Creator, the God of creation, and the supreme goal of all elemental life. Jeff is dead, these remnants of the element world are handed over to you. The Lord of Elements forgot to give the four of them a glance, then raised his finger a little, and opened the gate of the element world. The gate of the underworld can be destroyed, the guardian of the 12 shields, surrender and surrender can all be captured as prisoners. As for Orgast, this sorcerer don't kill. As soon as the voice fell, his figure disappeared completely. Yes. Four immediately agreed. The Lord's will is the will of God, and it is the supreme command of all elemental life in the element world. Chapter-701-6-terrible, I'm going home. The moment Jeff died, all the demons created by him felt it. Somewhere, there is a force telling them that the person who created their demons has died and completely disappeared from this world. His Majesty Jeff is dead. At the same time, at the top of the flaming mountain, Orgast murmured in shock. He was a little lost and seemed to have difficulty accepting Jeff's death. The rest of the 12 shields also felt incredible, as strong as the Abyss, known as the most powerful black magician in history, but they couldn't even beat a Dream World Master. Lord Jeff. The judge opened his mouth, his heart was shaking. What can I do? Vengeance. Olcaster's face was gloomy. Unlike the other 12 shields, his feelings for Jeff were more complicated. His true identity is the son of Jerf. Although Jerf doesn't know it, how can he not retaliate for the death of his biological father? Boom. In the rage, Orgast's magic power suddenly became wild. He grabbed his right hand suddenly, and the magic wand in his hand was instantly burned to ashes by magic power. Boom boom boom. The atmosphere of the entire element world is shaking because of this magic. What a huge amount of magic power. Zanji Di Maria's expression was solemn. The magic power of the Magic King far exceeds the other 12 shields of us, and only Irene can match it. The Guardian 12 shields, 12 super powerful wizards of the Alvarez Empire. Each of them possesses power close to the Abyss level, and their combat power is comparable to that of the strongest magician in the original continent, the god Serena. Among the 12 wizards, the Mage King and Scarlet Despair stood at the pinnacle and existed at a different level from the other 12 shields. It can be said that the magic power displayed by the sorcerer at this moment is almost equivalent to the sum of the magic power of dozens of saints and 10 magic guides. The Battle of Revenge. No one should back down. Olcast's skin became dark, and his magic power changed his temperament, from an amiable old man to a ruthless killer with murderous intent. Hum hum. At this moment, the 4 major elemental lords appeared again, and the fire elemental lord even mocked with disdain. The Battle of Comforting Spirits. The momentum is good, but your ending is already doomed. As soon as the voice fell, he suddenly opened his mouth and roared. In an instant, the flaming mountain rolled up endless flames, turned into a vortex, and headed towards the Orgast group. The Realm of Fire. Just as the final battle broke out in the element world, most of the contestants who stayed in the element world felt dizzy. Natsu, Urza, Laxus, Gilda's Iron Dragon Jejal, Joseph Zala, etc., except for the Gate of Hades and the 12 shields, all were driven out. What's the matter? There was a big change in the element world just now. I seem to have seen the battle between the World Master and another powerful magician. What a joke, my points have already reached 33, and I'm still close to qualifying. The dueling platform has disappeared, and those who returned from the element world have all appeared on the ruins. Some people were outraged, others quickly felt that something was wrong. That's a dragon, Gildas said in amazement, a group of dragons. As he could see, under the sky of the solar eclipse, groups of dragons were flying. Lucy. Elsa suddenly changed her face, ran over quickly, opened a collapsed wall, and rescued Lucy below. Elsa. Lucy opened her eyes in a daze. Lucy, are you all right? What the hell happened here? Urza asked urgently. Here it sucks. As if recalling something, Lucy's face became frightened. I opened the door of the solar eclipse and released more than 10,000 giant dragons from it. It's a dream. Roar. Just then, the dragon roar sounded. A thunder dragon flashing with electric light was suddenly sent flying and fell towards this side. Boom. With a dull sound, Thunder Dragon landed on the ruins, suffering from endless pain. Damn human beings. I won't let you go. Thunder Dragon was furious, lightning flashed all over his body, and the violent power of thunder and lightning spread in all directions, and Thunder Dragon in rage had no scruples at all. However, the next moment, in front of Thunder Dragon, a line of text appeared. Who? Thunder Dragon was furious. It's you, Word Dragon. I saw that the words floating in the air, like tadpoles, quickly gathered and turned into a giant dragon with a length of 7 or 80 meters. You can also see that the strength of this group of people is incredible. The weakest one is stronger than you. Shit, I admit that there are some very powerful ones, but the weakest ones, I can slap them to death. Thunder Dragon snorted coldly, but didn't do anything. The strongest ones can kill you with a slap. The Text Dragon said calmly. Now, we have two choices. First, surrender to them, and join the giant dragon army. Second, run. As for fighting, I thought about it at first, but now it seems that I can't beat it at all. More than 10,000 giant dragons are fighting each other, and the sand is scattered. And, what if you can beat it? At least it has to pay a very heavy price. Who knows who will become the stepping stone to victory? Therefore, running is the wisest choice. Run. How to run? Thunder Dragon's eyes flickered. That vice chairman blocked the space. I have a way. When 637 character long said solemnly. That guy named Eisen did not block the space, but interfered with the space. This place has become a labyrinth, but it does not say that it is absolutely impossible to escape. A person's strength is not enough, you need to use some dragon's strength. How much? At least 100 dragons are needed, lend me your power. I see, I can join forces with you. After a brief hesitation, Thunder Dragon agreed. At the same time, a young dragon, who was only a few decades old, fluttered its wings frantically and fled here. Mom, these times are terrible, I want to go home. The young dragon cried and cried, running away all the way. Behind him, a frostbone dragon is soaring and chasing. On the ground, countless skeleton soldiers, tens of thousands, were hunting down the giant dragons that fell to the ground. The contestants who had just returned from the element world looked at this scene in a stunned manner, their brains blanked out and fell into a sluggishness. What's the situation? At the same time, under the solar eclipse, Qin calmly watched the overall situation. Well, there are quite a few giant dragons huddled together and trying to escape. There are also hundreds of them who died in battle and were resurrected by the Lich King and turned into bone dragons. Master, Mira said dully, how does this end? The end. Qin chuckled and said, this is just the beginning. Chapter-701-720 Another Defector. The third update after discussing with the editor for a long time, they said that, you can't write the plot of the original work. You can't write official characters, such as Xiao Yan, Yao Lao, and homophonics. This is impossible to write, and even the original characters can't be used, so the Dopo plan was stillborn. Not only Dopo, I originally wanted to write about the perfect world, but it didn't work. As for the next world, Saint Seiya, or Dragon Ball, or other anime. Close black lens bracket. This is just the beginning. There are more than 14,000 dragons, and it is too difficult to conquer all of them. It's not a matter of combat power, but while subduing the opponent with force, it will inevitably kill some of them. However, it doesn't matter if you just kill some, as long as 1/3 of the dragons, that is, about 5,000 heads, can join the dragon army, then this power can be used. Thinking of this, Qin immediately shook his head, try not to kill too many, this is all combat power. In the future, when you encounter a slightly weaker world, you can directly cast the Dragon Legion, saving time and effort. Such as One Piece, King of Pirates, Death God, Fairy Tail, this level of world, a dragon army, is enough to rule the whole world. Mira was silent by the side, and now, she doesn't know if she is doing the right thing. However, after getting on the boat, I can't get off now, for for Fairy Tail. Everything is worth it. Cleaning up these dragons, on the other hand, is also saving a parallel world. Huh. Suddenly, Myra's eyes turned to look at the ruins. The competition venue was smashed, and among the ruins, 5 people in black cloaks gathered together. There was a flash of magic just now, those people, she thought to herself. At the same time, in the ruins, the 5 cloaked people who were hidden all looked at one of their companions at this moment. Nineheart, what are you doing? The man known as Nineheart has neatly combed hair and a ponytail. At this moment, he was glared by the 4 people, but he laughed and said, didn't you find it? The contestants in the element world have all come out, but the Magic King and the others have not come out. I really didn't see them. A man in fat trousers nodded. His name was Agile Ram, and the title was Desert King. You mean, the World Master did it on purpose? The person who spoke had a stern face, a cold face, eyes, and white hair. Its name is Inber, and the title is Winter General. I'm afraid that idiot, Serena, is dead again. Nineheart spread his hands and said speechlessly, the magic fluctuations that have just been transmitted from me are because of this. You know, my magic is the history of corpses. The history of corpses, in simple terms, is the embodiment of the dead. The god Serena was killed by Lu Daoban. After learning of his death, Nineheart used this to resurrect the god. It is a pity that the resurrection of the gods, the magic level has dropped, and it is not as good as before. It seems that an unimaginable battle broke out in the elemental world. Moreover, to kill Serena, it should be a Lord level, elemental life, or a Taoist. Among the five, the only woman spoke lightly. Her name is Brandish, and her title is Broken Country. In short, one person can defeat a country. Brandish has emerald green bangs and looks delicate, but her eyes are rather lazy, and she doesn't seem to have any strength to speak. Let's ignore this, we're going to find your majesty. His majesty showed up before and led the world lord away. We have to. The fifth speaker, who had not spoken, took off his cape, revealing a rigid face. Jacques Lexiu, and the title is Assassin. It's such a hassle that I don't want to go. Brandish waved his hand and said in a lazy tone, go on your own, I just want to stay here and watch the fantasy dragon slaughter quietly. In comparison, this thing that is comparable to an epic movie is even more curious. Quote. Brandish. General Winter squinted his eyes and said in a bad tone. Just before he could transform, a golden flash suddenly appeared in front of the five people. Immediately, the eyebrows of the five people moved, and they looked at each other. After seeing the golden light, a handsome-looking man walked out. The man had golden fox eyes, the corners of his mouth grinned, and there was a slight smile. I found you. You don't show any magical aura, Julia, I really can't find you. Ninth Master, Brandish hummed, strange self-proclaimed. I am one of the dream leaders, the nine-tailed demon fox. The nine-tailed demon fox raised his hand, and a pair of fox pupils stared at the five people strangely. Lord Qin Emperor asked me to exterminate you. But Julia, I am afraid of trouble. You surrender now, I will accept it. Surrender, the assassin said indifferently. You don't look too strong. You are neither a master nor a realm master. You can stop as five. I surrender. Before the assassin could finish speaking, Brandish raised his hands and said calmly, I surrendered, and I'm also afraid of trouble. It's best if you don't fight. Ha ha ha. Nine-tailed demon fox laughed. Little girl, you suit my taste, I like you very much. In response, Brandish rolled her eyes. Although Ninetails looks good, she is not the type she likes. In contrast, looks like Emperor Qin and Lan Ran are more in line with her aesthetic. Of course, this is just for admiration, she has no other interest. However, her speech made the other four look ugly. What the hell are you thinking? Brandish, you're crazy. If His Majesty Jeff knew, what would you do? HMPH, this woman is really unreliable. Hearing this, Brandish rolled his eyes again. You guys want to fight yourselves, but I can't beat them. Haven't you seen those great masters? Each of them has fighting power comparable to the abyss. Besides, that one Emperor Qin, we haven't made a move so far, and the five of us together are not that person's first-hand enemy. Saying that, she stepped aside and said that she had no intention of fighting. Also, Irene has surrendered to Dream. She went 400 years ago and brought these giant dragons to this era, right? Saying so, she looked at Kyubi. Of course, Aaron is our man. Nine-tailed demon fox grinned Isho and said, I'm not afraid to tell you that your Majesty Jeff has been beaten to death by the Realm Master. We are here to take over the Alvarez Empire, and the next emperor of the empire, Lord Qin Emperor, will appoint Erin as queen. She was originally a queen, and she ruled an empire without a problem. Suddenly, Brandish spoke in silence. I heard that you have the power to resurrect the dead. I have a request. As long as you can agree, I am willing to do anything. Oh, anything. Zhu raised his eyebrows. Juya now asks you to deal with your 4 companions, if you... Before he finished speaking, Brandish didn't even think about it, and just started. Command transform. Boom boom boom. The earth was like clay, and its power was twisted, turning into a huge fist, and it slammed into the 4 General Dong. Chapter-701-720 Queen of the Western Continent. Command transform. Before the 9-tailed demon fox could finish speaking, Brandish went straight to the action. It seems that she has no psychological pressure to betray 12 shields. I saw that the earth under the ruins was like clay, twisted by a force, turned into a huge fist, and slammed into the 4 General Dong. This sudden attack made the 4 people's faces turn ashen. You really are crazy. General Dong Yin Bell snorted coldly, and immediately threw his hand away, making a blast of frost. Even if you want to surrender dream, do you think one person can deal with the 4 of us? It's a joke. When he waved his hand, he hit a piece of ice and snow, and the huge fist was frozen and solidified in an instant, and the falling movement also froze in the air. Command shrink. Brandish was unhurried, maintaining that lazy and unmotivated expression. And following her command, the earth was rapidly shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. The radius of thousands of meters, almost in the blink of an eye, became an area the size of a palm, only for her feet to stand. Centering on the place where her feet stood, a force that swallowed all things and reduced all things swept outward. The 4 of General Dong's faces were gloomy, and without any hesitation, they fled outwards. Damn, this woman is sick. Nineheart couldn't help but yell, history of corpses. Boom. A magic power rose to the sky, and the next moment, the god Serena appeared again. Ha ha ha, my Serena, the god of the 8 dragons, is back. In the laughter, Serena saw a huge soul. It was a woman's foot, with sandals on it, and it stomped hard on him. Brandish. Serena was stunned. What are you doing? Boom. Under the roar, the god Serena, who had just been resurrected, was stepped into the ground, and he didn't know whether to live or die. Not far away, the 9-tailed demon fox couldn't help twitching the corners of his eyes. I'm involved in Juya too. He jumped slightly, immediately retreated, and avoided it far away. This should be morphic magic, which can control the reduction, enlargement, and deformation of everything. However, reducing this area to the size of a palm in an instant will also really great. The 9-tailed demon fox hid a few kilometers away and watched the play leisurely. He found an open space and sat down, observing the firefight between the 12 shields. Being able to betray so decisively, it seems that her request is very important to her. Who is to be resurrected? Ninetails touched her chin and smiled. Anyway, this is a defector, and she cannot be allowed to die. Death Knight. He drank lightly. The next moment, dozens of black shadows charged towards this side. Equals at M1. 7 inches. He was a war horse and a knight, dressed in heavy armor and holding a sharp spear, came to the side of the 9-tailed demon fox, and shouted in unison. Ju Yi. Oh. Don't let women die. Q. Yes. Dozens of Death Knights took the lead, and then went towards Brandish. They are members of the Legion of the Undead, fearless of death and meticulous in carrying out their orders. At the same time, somewhere in the battlefield, the current number 1 of the Holy 10, Hyperion, looked struggling. He looked at the picture of the Battle of the Dragons in the distance, and chose to evacuate with a gritted teeth. It's too dangerous here. Take a step back. Let the dream and the dragon fight to the death. It's better to lose both. Thinking of this, he decided to withdraw. However, the next moment, a black crow suddenly flew over and stopped on a gravel in front of him. The crow's pupils have 3 guyu turning, and the indifferent eyes are locked on Hyperion. Uchiha Itachi. Hyperion's expression changed slightly. He immediately assumed a fighting stance, and at the same time his eyes moved down, not looking at those eyes. I've been locking you down. Do you think we're going to let the council president go? The crow babbled. What do you want? Despite this, Hyperion had already made a bold move. He slapped a palm suddenly, and bright red blood flashed in the palm of his hand, turning into an arrow of blood, and slammed away towards the crow. Blood rainbow. This attack was extremely fast. The distance between the two was less than 10 meters. The crow did not evade, and was directly penetrated by the arrow of blood. Immediately afterwards, these arrows of blood, like poisonous snakes, were absorbing the blood in the crow's body. Success. Hyperion's expression tightened, but he didn't look at the results, and chose to flee. However, the pierced crow, with a puff, scattered into a patch of black feathers. The next moment, Uchiha Itachi's figure was already intercepted in front. Don't run away, it's fate. Uchiha Itachi spoke lightly, his eyes condensed, and in an instant, his pupil power projected, Izanami. One of Uchiha Itachi's hand patted on the shoulder of Hyperion, and at the same time the pupil power enveloped the other party, at the cost of one eye, which could not be used again for a short time. In an instant, Hyperion was caught in the endless cycle of fate. When he came back to his senses, he was shocked to find that he was still standing where he was before, and 10 meters in front of him, a black crow was looking at him coldly. I've been locking you down. Do you think we're going to let the council president go? Hearing this, Hyperion paled in horror. How is that possible? Above the sky, Qinyang stood in the void. He turned his eyes and suddenly looked at the ruins. Those contestants who came out of the element world are coming this way. What do you want to do? Qinyang raised his eyebrows. Among these people, there are about 10 people at the 11th level. This person can't make waves. However, there are a few fairy tales among them, and it will be a bit troublesome if the group of people shouts a few words, because we are fairy tale, and suddenly the combat power skyrockets. Especially Natsu and Urs are completely unstable factors. Calculate the time, she can almost come back. Qinyang pondered for a moment, and then saw a figure flashing in front of him, and Irene's figure suddenly appeared. Emperor Qin. Irene was a little tired, but there was no sadness between her brows. It seemed that she had accomplished a task and was relieved. Sir. Qinyang said, your mission has been completed beautifully and is qualified. From today onwards, you will be a member of my dream. Lord Qin Emperor. Irene sighed, actually, I've been back for a while. Can those people be handed over to me to deal with? She was referring to the contestants. At will. Qinyang said indifferently. Now, the Emperor of the Alvarez Empire is dead. We want to take over the Empire, and then rule the Western continent with the Empire. I appoint you as the Queen of the Empire. Would you like it? How dare a little girl go against the wishes of adults? Irene murmured inwardly. The person in front of her was much more terrifying than Jeff. It's all according to the instructions of the adults. Very good. From now on, you are the Alvarez Empire. No, the Queen of the Western continent. Chapter-701-9 _ pressure. Dragon Ball, choose one of the two. You can leave a comment on the book. I will see which one is more, and which one will be written. In fact, the combat power of these two worlds is tingling. Close black lens bracket. The Empire of the Western continent is not only Alvarez, but the Alvarez Empire is the most powerful country. To rule the Western continent with an empire is the easiest way. On Ishgar's side, it is naturally the Holy Ten Council. First, solve the current speaker, and then support his own people, so that he can control the council, and then indirectly control Ishgar. In this way, the two continents of this world will be under the control of the dream. As for the representatives of the council, they have long been prepared. Qinyang chuckled lightly and turned his eyes to the sky. Heilong slapped a giant dragon with a paw, and then accelerated sharply, heading towards the contestants. Seeing a dragon flying towards this side, 80 or 90 contestants all stopped. There's a dragon here. It's a member of the dream. That's another kind of dragon, a dragon without wings. It's very strong. Don't be careless, that guy can shoot a giant dragon with one paw. Rampage in the dragon group. Everyone's faces froze, and they took a fighting stance. Shouted, "Who cares, Ignir? I see Ignir. Don't be impulsive, Natsu." Urza blocked. The dragon is obviously coming for us. Elsa is right, you guys stand back a little bit. Gildas took a few steps forward and stood in front of the crowd, as if he wanted to block the sea dragon. However, Heilong ignored him, and with a flick of his tail, he flew past and rushed directly to the rear of the contestants' brigade. "I am the sea dragon, the lord of the ocean, and the sorcerer who bears my blood. Have you not met me yet?" The sea dragon was tall, and a pair of dragon eyes looked down at the few people below. It was the Lord of Ghosts. President Joseph Zala, the Iron Dragon Slayer wizard Jijal. The moment he heard Heilong's words, Jijal stepped forward, knelt down on one knee and said, "I have seen the master." Gurgel. Joseph's face changed slightly. "Could it be that you—" "I'm sorry, President," Gurgel said calmly. "I joined Dream a few months ago." "Is that the time?" Joseph's face became more and more ugly. "The one time I sent you to check the life of the elements." "Yes." Gurgel slowly stood up. Seeing this, Heilong let out a light snort, and in an instant, Long Wei, a huge coercion, enveloped the world. Within a radius of hundreds of miles, all beings felt a heavy oppression. It was like an existence at the upper end of the food chain, and there was a kind of fear from the heart when staring at the prey at the lower end. This kind of heart palpitation was most obvious to Joseph, who was close at hand, even stronger than that of Gurgel. "Impossible this is." Joseph was taken aback, his expression full of disbelief. His body was trembling uncontrollably, his knees softened, and he was about to kneel. "It's impossible. I've already touched the edge of the abyss. How could you suppress me with just your aura and dragon power?" "Don't understand yet." Heilong glanced at him with contempt. "When your magic power was not growing, you strengthened yourself with dragon's blood, and gained huge benefits. And the price was only 100 million J of money. Do you think I wait for the dream to do this kind of business? You might as well think about it with your brain. Who does the blood of the dragon you use come from?" Hearing this, Joseph's face changed greatly. Just as he was about to make a move, a heavier pressure was directly suppressed on him. Boom! With a muffled sound, he knelt down on his knees, his palms fell on the ground, covered in cold sweat, and it was difficult to move. "Useless struggle, this dragon's deterrent to you comes from the bloodline." The old sea dragon was there, looking down at the other party, like a god or a master. "The blood you use, the full name of the blood of the true dragon, is deadly to sea creatures. The temptation one is the second time to use it on human beings. If you take enough real dragon blood and don't die, you can achieve dragon transformation. Huolong, to be precise, should be called Yulongman, and become a real ocean dragon, similar to the sea dragon. But at present, the sea beasts of this level have not yet appeared in the sea beast army, but Joseph is more likely." Joseph gritted his teeth, wishing to kill the sea dragon, but his body was crawling on the ground, expressing surrender. "Despicable. Don't say it's so ugly. In order to pursue strength, it is your own choice." Heilong snorted coldly, "Too lazy to talk nonsense with him. Whether you like it or not, you are now counted under Benlong's command, a member of the giant dragon army. Surrender. Benlong will give you stronger power to help you reach the abyss and resist. Die. Choose one of two." Extremely overbearing. Hearing this, Joseph calmed down. The matter had come to this point. His own life was in the hands of the other party, and the suppression of his blood was too terrifying to allow him to resist at all. That being the case, surrender is the best option. "What do you want me to do?" Joseph took a deep breath and said, "Tell me this at a time like this. There must be something I need to do. The brain is still not broken. You are valuable, and Benlong will not do anything to you. The sea dragon stretched out his right paw, and a drop of true dragon blood gathered in his palm. 1, 5, 10, 100. Another 100 drops of true dragon blood condensed and turned into a blood-colored ball. The next moment, Hailong flicked his fingers and threw the ball between Joseph's eyebrows. If you absorb it, you will get a small part of the power of the dragon. What the dragon wants you to do is very simple: become the president of the Holy Ten Council, wait for the dream for me, and take charge of Ishtar. Of course, one Joseph is definitely not enough. In the Holy Ten Council, Makarov must also be put in. It is best for the two to restrain each other. No matter how bad it is, at least Irene has better control. The level of the Western continent is much higher than that of Ishtar. If the Holy Ten Council, represented by Joseph, has Yixin, Irene will directly lead the empire to destroy it. It's no problem to support a new organization again. In any case, the value of the world of fairy tale is not enough. Anyway, when the illusion world merges, it doesn't matter how the world is. At that time, even if an Angsalam god or something else pops up, Chinyong can turn his hand to suppress it. Thinking of this, Hailong's eyes turned to look at the other magicians. The matter of the two continents has been arranged properly, and the giant dragon army is no problem. The rest is to collect mysterious runes and world origin. Mysterious runes are easy to collect. There are so many mages here, you can easily collect hundreds of them. As for the origin of the world, the Lord of Elements created the element world and obtained a large part of the origin, plus some of the original collection. It has reached the level of devouring the origin and integrating the world. But to be on the safe side, collect more. The easiest one to obtain is really Mebus. Her fairy heart contains a lot of origins, that's all. Sea Dragon's eyes flashed, flew away directly, and disappeared in a blink of an eye. Chapter-720-Fairy Ball. The third update. I can't write Dopo, I can't help it, I can't write it forcibly, and I can't write an interesting plot. I'm also very desperate. Close black lens bracket. Fairy heart. This magic is very interesting. Its developer should be Hades, the president of the Devil's Heart, who is now locked in the pseudo-abyss of the prison, the second-generation president of the fairy tale. When Mebus died due to a curse, Hades got the corpse of the first generation and found that the corpse still had a heartbeat. He sealed the corpse of the first generation in a magic crystal and tried to resurrect it in various ways. In the end, the fairy was born. The heart is such a magic. So what exactly is this magic? In short, this magic is infinite magic. The power of magic can be used without limit. Every magician has a limited amount of magic power in his body. Even a great magician of the 10th level will fall into weakness if he uses super magic 2 or 3 times in a row. Even the master of elements who has reached the peak of the abyss, his magic power is limited. But the heart of a fairy is infinite. Even if you use super magic continuously, you can use it hundreds of times without any problem. In addition to this, the heart of a fairy has another characteristic, that is, the level of magic. In the original book, Jeff absorbed the heart of the goblin and turned into a white magician. His combat power suddenly soared to surpass the black dragon, which is regarded as stepping into the realm of gods. It can be seen that such a powerful super magic, the heart of the fairy, the origin of the world it should contain, is so huge. This is almost unreasonable magic, against common sense. By the river, far away from the Battle of the Dragons, it is about 100 kilometers away from the capital. Mebus was sitting on a wooden bridge, looking at himself reflected in the water. Suddenly, she sighed and said softly, "You really came." As soon as the voice fell, I saw the sea dragon hovering above the sky, and above the sea dragon's head, the Lord of Elements stood. "Does your presence mean that Jeff is dead?" "He's dead." The Lord of Elements nodded. "Mebus, our vice president will help you to exorcise the curse and resurrect you. The ultimate goal is to be a demon." "My heart." Mebus stood barefoot on the railing of the wooden bridge. "The heart of the goblin does not refer to the heart in my body, but a special magic power contained in my body. I don't need your magic, all I need is something in your magic. The Lord of Elements said lightly. Perhaps, only because of the existence of a huge world origin, the heart of the fairy has that kind of bug-like power. And if possible, I want to give it to you too, so that you can stop strife. Mebus raised her head and looked at the Lord of Elements above the head of the sea dragon. Her little face was filled with solemnity. Boundary Lord, if you really want the heart of a goblin, why don't you let your president, that is, Emperor Qin, come here? Even if the vice president comes here, I can't resist. Really, the Lord of Elements chuckled. I am waiting for you to resist, to give you a glimmer of hope. Among us, there is a man named Dao Zun. In his opinion, everything should have a glimmer of hope. Vitality, this is in line with the law of heaven, and I follow the law of heaven. Quote. What conforms to the principles of heaven is nonsense. The reason why it is the Lord of Elements and the sea dragon is because these two phantom bodies are enough. Moreover, the hope of the Lord of Elements stepping into the realm of God lies in Mebus. As long as the Lord of Elements steps into a 6-star level, then the ontology illusory god can quickly reach a 7-star level. A 7-star phantom god is one more level stronger than a 6-star one. According to the law of heaven. Mebus murmured, then smiled. You guys don't look so bad, it's much better than the rumors. If you can, I want to give you what you want, but no. You have done so many things because you want to rule the world. It doesn't matter which one, if you want the heart of a fairy, just come and get it yourself. As soon as the voice fell, her body flew into the air. Mebus raised his right hand, and a huge amount of magic power gathered on the small white hand. It was pure magic of light, much more sacred than Makarov's magic, almost comparable to the Holy Archangel. You must know that the Holy Archangel is the Holy Light itself, and he is the body condensed by the power of the Holy Light, but Mebus is a mortal body to compare with the angels. We fairy tale, we will never back down. His eyes, absolute defense magic fairy ball. Boom. The suffocating magic power formed a ball of light in the air. The sphere is huge, sealing the sea dragon and the Lord of Elements inside. On the surface of the sphere, there is the golden emblem of fairy tale. This magic is the last of the 3 super magic of fairy tale. It is super defensive magic, enough to defend against abyss-level power. Inside the fairy ball, time can be almost stopped, and all the flow of time has been slowed down by tens of thousands of times, which is comparable to the snow holy lotus. As expected of Mebus, the founder of the 3 major magic. Inside the fairy ball, the Master of Elements said with full approval, the strength of this magic, I am afraid that even I can't break it. After obtaining a complete body, the super magic used by the fairy's heart is enough to defend against all powers below the gods. I have to say, you are very powerful, you are the most powerful female magician in this world, much stronger than Irene. His words, ignoring the blockade of time, penetrated the fairy ball and fell into Mebus' ears. Mebus raised his eyebrows slightly. Why can you talk? In the fairy ball, time stops. He. Sea Dragon let out a low smile. Why? Very simple, we have jumped out of time. Your laws cannot interfere with our actions. However, this magic is indeed very hard, and none of us can break it alone. Meaning, can the two of you work together? Mebus is a little unconvinced. This magic, even a black dragon, cannot be broken, and the black dragon is almost the pinnacle of magic. Like the Lord of Elements, it is God if it moves forward. Don't be in such a hurry. The Lord of Elements shook his head, put his hands on his back, and said calmly, you said just now that we spend a lot of time in order to rule the world. No, you are half right. It doesn't matter how the world is, I will wait for what I need. Is something you can't understand. You don't have enough vision, and you don't understand the explanation. But since you are afraid that I will cause damage to the world, you might as well join me and maintain the world according to your wishes. That's how Mira is. What she did, she was very smart and chose to join us for the sake of her sister and to protect Fairy Tale. What absurdity is this? Because you can't resist, so join it, become a member of it, and protect the world. Mebus was stunned. It seemed to make sense. However, you certainly cannot understand it now, and you will not join me in waiting. Then, I will defeat you first. Saying that, the eyes of the Lord of Elements condensed, and in an instant, the element world in the body rapidly expanded and began to invade the material world. The Gate of Elements. At the same time, the sea dragon made the sound of dragon roar, and his body, starting from the head, was dyed with a layer of golden color. Sea Dragon God Mode. Boom. 2 huge coercions envelop the world in an instant. This is the ability of 2 5 stars, the strongest power of the 2 phantom bodies. Click. A crack appeared in the fairy ball. Mebus became discolored. How could this be?